You do what you just do what you did before with with all the stuff like that. All right, let's make sure this works. Let's get it.
It's kind of tough. Like questions like.
I know, on the fly.
On the fly.
On the fly.
You guys on the fly be pretty good.
I know. All right, guys. I think we're here. I think we're live right now. Let me know in the chat if we are actually live when I bring away these distractions from Bill. We're live here down from PokerStars Bahamas, Potland PCA. We are not playing the great game of Potland Omaha down here. We're playing 25K 2-card Potland Omaha tournament, I believe. Bill is playing everything. He's having fun. He's getting into some trouble down here. But we're finally here. We're live. The first live podcast that I've done from some sort of players lounge where people are actually watching me right now, so the pressure's on. We're joined today by the man, the myth, the legend himself, the guy who every time we have him on the podcast, he brings us wisdom, he brings us joy, he brings us heart, he brings us soul, he teaches us about love, teaches us about life, teaches us about energy, teaches us about cryptocurrency, teaches us about poker, teaches us about, I mean, everything, man. Fear, love, I mean, right? Emotion, all that kind of good stuff.
You know, I don't. It's basically accumulation of things I've heard from other great people, but yeah.
And I accumulate the knowledge from him, and then I share it with people, and like 25% of the passion and energy that Bill then shares it too. So, but we're joined by Bill Perkins. Bill,
great to be here.
Officially, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
They say we're a little loud. We'll turn it down here, guys. Let me know how the audio sounds out here too, because I am talking a little bit loud because I'm trying to bring make sure if we get any background noise here. But Bill, what's been going on down here for the PCA? How you been?
It's been great. I mean, PokerStars put together a really, really great tournament. I've heard about it for a year almost. Like, if you make any tournament, you got to make this 25K. You got to make the 25K. It's going to be great. And it exceeded the hype.
Right.
Yeah. You know, people who I know that normally don't come to poker tournaments, wouldn't come down to the Bahamas, came down for this event. They brought in a whole bunch of amateurs, recreational players, gave them the opportunity of a lifetime to come play. That's great in itself, but also what's great about that is the result of that, the interesting stories that happened on the felt, that people had decisions to bring in off the felt. The stories are just great. They're so entertaining. They're so heartwarming. It's just really, I'm almost envious of some of these stories, like these swings and this uplift that these people are having. Yeah,
I mean, I think I've met a lot of people down here. You know, we got a nice couple back there. They got a Platinum Pass winner, a doctor from Ecuador over there, and his fiance. They got engaged the other night at Nobu, man. It was amazing. Then she final tabled one of the tournaments last night for the Platinum Pass winners, $50 tournament. First final table ever. So I mean, it's definitely unique down here in terms of meeting the stories, meeting the people, kind of getting their perspective, because we know a lot of professional poker players and they're sort of come here, sweatpants, their hair disheveled, they're looking a little run down a little bit, and that excitement that they have isn't there, which is understandable because they've been doing it for 10 plus years. So I feel like the people that we've been meeting down here are definitely unique stories that you just don't experience very much with some of the people that I think we know or we mainly talk to often.
Yeah, I mean, you hear the word poker community, right? And a lot of times when you come to some of these events, it's like 70, 80, 90% of one aspect of the poker community.
Right.
But this one, I think even almost exceeding the World Series of Poker, had a great mix of, a true representation of the poker community.
Well, I mean, I don't know if that's necessarily the case, because I do feel like the series gets everyone, but it's like the people that we speak to. Whereas there's thousands of people, and here I feel like it's a little more limited in terms of the number of people. So the people that we gain exposure to here are, I think it's going to be, we have a better chance to run into someone who is that recreational amateur player, and plus we know that those people are here. Whereas at the series, I think they're definitely there, but you're probably not going to talk to them very often too.
I don't know. I mean, it's really about percents, right? Because the World Series of Poker has 10,000 people.
Yeah,
right?
A lot of people.
And so, but we don't have as many people down here. But I would be interested to know the ratios.
I know. Maybe we should do a poll on the series
this year.
Some
data.
We'll get some.
We might have a bet here brewing.
We'll get some ground floors in here. So.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, guys, we are live down here in the chat. We see the chat. We got Sasha over here. We got Big J, Jonah, Wizard, Hungry Man over here trying to stay in trouble down here. I guess, Bill, my big question for you is, when you're down here and when you see so many people that you know, especially when you come on the podcast, people know that you have a lot of wisdom and perspective on I mean, listen, any question I feel, I text you sometimes, I just say, hey, Bill, I got a question about this, and you always give me some, pretty good advice about things, just whatever it is. How do you limit your distractions when you come down here, when you walk around, you see guys, you see the guys PokerStars right there, shout out to PokerStars, and you see guys that are fans, or you see guys that are your friends, or see people that you kind of know that maybe you'd like to know better, anything like that. How do you come down here, focus in on what you're trying to achieve, and and really limit your distractions and not get too crazy.
Well, like in my life balance, right? Like poker, travel, lifestyle, meeting people and talking, like that's one aspect of my life that I actually enjoy. So coming here and actually getting to talk to people, being vulnerable with them, hearing their story, telling them like this is my experience. You know, I don't know if it's wisdom, but I have some experience, right? And I'm willing to share it. I really enjoy that. You know, there are some times where it can get overwhelming and I'm out of balance, like I'm doing too much talking to everybody and et cetera.
Right.
But I really, this is my time to actually do that. Right.
So
That's one of the aspects I love about live poker.
So you look at this opportunity. If people come on and talk to you, you're willing to talk to whoever wants to come up to you and talk to you. Pretty much.
This is the time, right? Like if I'm not in the middle of a podcast, you know, or playing poker, you know, this is the time, right? And I've you know, met some people, sat down, had some dinner, you know, made some new friends, talked about things, talked about marriage, talked about divorce. These are the things I'm going through, talking about X, Y, and Z. And it's just great. You know, it's just a great time. It's my time to do that. And, you know, much like I think everybody in life, you know, it's a constant battle trying to find whatever your balance is in your life of the many, many things you are, the many labels that you have. You're like, you know, I'm a dad, I'm a doctor, I'm an athlete, I'm a charitable person, I'm a lover, whatever it is, right? All these things, and you're trying to find balance, like allocating your time and getting it right. And I feel like I never really get it quite right, but you know, I'm constantly trying to just keep moving, you know, finding that balance.
I guess right now, when you think about your priorities at this current moment in time, you know, you come down here, your priority, is it here? Is it to play poker, or is it to spend time with people that you're close to, or do you feel like in your mind you set prioritizations? Because obviously you have your kids who you love very much.
Yeah.
We got Lara down here. Shout out to Lara.
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 Is Lara like Sarah?
Lara like Sarah.
I got it wrong for like the first 6 months too. So
I finally finally got to meet her at dinner. I definitely can see why you two get along very well. I feel like
great.
it takes a certain type of personality to be able to gel with you and for you to gel with them for an extended period of time. Like you two have obviously, you know, been together now for a little bit of time. So how do you prioritize things down here?
Well, it's kind of like a merge strategy, right? Like you get kind of both of it when you're playing poker. You know, obviously on the table, I'm trying to focus on my leaks, stopping them out and playing my best game that I can at that time, and socialize at the same time. But then like off the table, it's like, hey, you know, let's go do this. Let's go have dinner. Let's go have lunch. Let's go see the comedy show. Let's have fun if we're not exhausted, etc. So the big benefit of like this format and a live tournament is you get both, you know, like value bluff or whatever it is, whatever you want to compare it to. So I mean, it's been a great trip.
Yeah. So it sounds like you don't put too much pressure on yourself to try to do everything that you want to do. You sort of take things as they come, and if it doesn't work out, then you're not hard on yourself in terms of, man, I would have liked to do more of that or would have liked to do more of that, but you sort of embrace what you actually do get to do.
Yeah, I mean, I have a general plan of what I want to do when I get down here, but, you know, life is discovery. That's what I tell people is like, you don't know what you want, you discover what you want, right? And so that means there's got to be some potluck things, right? Like you try new food, you don't know if you like it, you got to try it, right? And so if I'm not going to have a cookie cutter life and just, you know, let the history of the culture decide exactly what I'm going to do, I got to have some random things to discover what I like and what I want to do. So it's a good idea to have a plan so you're not completely lost, but you want to kind of have, you know, in my case, I want to have kind of go with the flow. Like, oh, you know, we're all going here, and this is the person, you randomly meet this person. Like, wow, I'm glad I discovered you. You're a great guy or a great girl to know.
So when you meet those people and you establish a sort of a relationship for a temporary amount of time down here like that, how do you then proceed after that in terms of potentially maintaining that relationship or wanting to spend more time with them? Because I feel like I'm down here, I meet a lot of awesome people who I would love to hang out with and spend time with, but then it comes up where then you meet another person, or then you know, Big J Hungry Man wants to go out eat, you know, so it's like
you do have that problem of how much time you're going to get to allocate it. You know, somebody once said like people come into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime, and you know, you never know which one until the end. And so I just go with that, right? Like I meet people, we have conversations. Maybe that was it. Maybe, you know, in the future we'll hang out again. You know, we'll invite, we'll show up at dinner. We'll have a couples thing. I don't know. You don't know until the end. But I just have that mindset that this is part of my journey, you know, and it's great.
Did you always have that mindset, or when you were younger, maybe my age, in your 30s, and you're sort of wanting to do it all and wanting to be here, wanting to be there, wanting to be everywhere? Do you feel like this sort of thing came in trial and error, and you had that mindset, and now you sort of realize, okay, it's that was a necessary stress and pressure I put on myself to do everything?
I think I was just like, you know, in my 30s, I was just getting married. I was so focused on like, I gotta make it. I gotta make a bunch of money, et cetera. Like, I don't think I was starting to crack in the very, very deep down. Like, what is this all for? Like, if I keep making this money, what am I gonna do with it? Like, I have to spend it, and I have to, you know, these ideas were coming into my head, but I didn't really have like balance. You know, I didn't really like seek the balance or going out there. It wasn't until much later all these different thoughts and you know, came together about, you know, what do I want to be, who I am, and, you know, coming to grips with, you're never going to know. You know what I mean? You're just going to enjoy the ride, and then, you know, you're going to reach your destination, which kind of sucks because the destination is death, right? Like, you go into a little box, and I don't like tight spaces, but, you know, you know, so it's just like now I'm at the point where it's like you got to enjoy the ride because the destination's not so great.
Do you feel like the idea of death is something that you think about, or that scares you, or that you've sort of accepted that eventually that will take place, and that is what it is? And or are you scared of death, or is it something like that?
No. Actually, so, you know, one of the thoughts that's been coming up in the book is like I'm writing this book, and the idea that you die.
Can you get them a chair closer? Yeah.
The idea that you die determines and has an impact on what you do today. A lot of people live as if they're never going to die. And what I mean by that is like we've all heard the cliche statement, like, if you were going to die tomorrow, what would you do?
Right.
And then, but you need to take that back and integrate it back. If you were going to die 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, 6 days. So once you integrate that back, the date of your death impacts kind of how you're going to behave today. The further away, you know, you have a different curve of the things you're going to do, et cetera, right? You know, people are like, oh, if I was going to die an hour, I'd run around and do this. Or if I have 2 hours, 3 hours, et cetera. So that comes into play. And you also have to overlay one thing. Like, people heard of, like, if you're going to die tomorrow, what would you do today? But I don't think is what we're not used to thinking about is that our deterioration. Because it's not like you just die at like your 25-year-old, 33-year-old in shape best body. You deteriorate over time. So your ability to do certain things, like if you're going to die tomorrow, and then let's assume that was 80, you're not going to be able to do the same things that when you were 35 or 30. So some of those things disappear off your list. And so I started really thinking about, not from like I'm scared of death, et cetera, but what the implications of my deterioration and my date of death have on what I should be doing today to live optimally.
So I guess, you know, since we've been on the podcast, it's been about 1.5 years since I think I had you on last. Where do you feel like your life's changed? Where have you made the biggest sort of maybe improvement in your mind, or how do you feel like you've evolved as a person or as a human?
I think,
which I guess are the same thing.
Oh, wow. So that's a.
You thought about this at all?
Yeah.
I'm sure you have.
I think I have. When you say
like
like the great, it's like what's the best thing, and then, you know, I'm trying best thing in like terms of like what I get out of it or lifetime impact. I think the biggest thing is, like, I think we've already talked about it, is forgiveness, like becoming a forgiving person, both of others and of myself.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of had the biggest impact or whatever. But now it's, you know, I've kind of come off, I think, an autopilot. Like, I forced myself to get off autopilot to think about these things of like, okay, what is optimal for me in my life? What do I really want?
Right.
And what is the optimal path to get what I want? Like, if, you know, I have like these thought experiments in my head. Like, you know, if I was in heaven before I came on the earth, and these were the list of all the activities I wanted to do, right? Okay. Then I go, okay, you know, I want to go skiing 1,000 times. I want to have sex 250,000 times. I want to do, you know, go to a boxing match. I want to do whatever. So we list all these activities. I realize the way, you know, our bodies work, there's an ordering problem, right? You can't do this. You don't say, well, I'll go skiing when I'm 2 and 90. They have to be between these ages. And the sex has to be between these ages. And the going to this has to be these ages. And it's optimal to do them at certain points in your time. So, and based on your health, et cetera. So, you know, life is like Tetris, you know. To get the highest enjoyment and the highest score, you have to, like, put these activities in their proper time and their proper the proper season based on who you are and what you want. And so I've been thinking about that a lot. And I've also been thinking about like getting the maximum ride that I can get.
Right. Which we've discussed this before, and you mentioned the book, and we've talked about that a little bit as well too. So you're working on some sort of type of book which kind of dives into that topic,
Yeah.
like the idea of burn rate and the idea of maximizing your experience and your money and your time while you still have it, because once you hit a certain point later in life, then that sort of keeps going down and down.
Yeah, so it's like you got to think about the concept of money and what money is for, and how you define it. And there's like many definitions, but my favorite definition is money is something you exchange your time for. Right? That's kind of like a universal thing, right? And so you exchange your time in order to like have an experience. That experience might be food, it might be shelter, but beyond that, it's about consuming other experiences, right? And so if I'm exchanging my time to have other experiences, I'm going to be damn sure that I convert that, that time into experiences. Like just take the money out of it, right? Like I want to get all the experiences. And so, the logical conclusion, which we've already discussed, is that if you die with money, you've wasted your time, right? And I don't want to waste my time here on Earth. I want to get the maximum amount of experiences out of it. And so, the fact that you deteriorate and the fact that you die, that creates a curve, right? Because if you, at a certain point, if your body deteriorates faster than interest rates, right, then the value of that money disappears. You actually have less, quote unquote, money, right? Because it's like you can't. I like using skiing, but just I'm just using skiing. It's like I worked a week to go skiing, but then you don't cash in that skiing chip until you're 90, and you realize I can't ski, or it's too risky, or I'm going to die, or I don't enjoy it as much. The enjoyment of the activity goes away. So there's this kind of diminishing value to your ability to get value out of that money and experiences diminishes over time, so it creates this like natural curve. And so I've been like thinking about that, what does that mean for me? What does that mean also socially and emotionally and time-wise, right? Like with my kids, it's like it's really amazing how my kids wouldn't leave my side to they don't want me around to be with their friends, right?
Bang, bang.
And like I learned that they're always like, when you're there, it's like, I got to be home. My kids won't go anywhere without me. They won't whatever. And then pretty like, Dad, get the hell out of here. You know what I mean? I want to hang out with my friends. You're not fun. You're not cool anymore, etc. They still love we still hang out, but like the time disappears.
I think you're cool, brother. It's okay.
Yeah,
hey, listen, man.
Thank you.
They might not think so, but hey,
I am the most cringy person in the world.
According to them.
Yeah.
Wow.
Dad, you're so cringy. Why'd you do that? Why'd you post that?
Well, I think I think like kids view the idea of, because you show a lot of love, a lot of affection for your kids, for your girl, and I feel like kids these days, and even when we were kids, we were like, oh my god, it kind of that is a little cringe because you get made fun of or put down for showing affection or vulnerability when it comes to that, and that's one thing that you really take pride in, is showing that vulnerability when it comes to other people that you care about and to yourself. And I think kids are like, oh my god, why the fuck do you say you love me, sort of thing like that, and
if you figured out the secret of being cool to my kids, I want to hear it. But I mean, like, so like thinking about going back to that, it's like I think of like, okay, now, I think my balance of being, I thought it's like, okay, I'm going to spend, it's not like I want to spend 20% of my time or 30% of the time with my kids evenly throughout their lives. It's just not going to happen that way.
Right, once they get older.
It's not even your choice anymore, right? Like, they're just like, what's going on? So, like, I look back and it's like, maybe I should have tweaked it up to like 60, 70 here and get all that I can get until they're like, peace, Dad, see you later. I'm going to the movies. But if you drive me here,
right? But at that same time, as we mentioned before, your goals when they were that age was you wanted to maximize your success at what your job was, and in retrospect, it sounds like maybe you would have tried to allocate that differently. But then we could argue that you might not have had the success that you desired there. So it's this. I think it's this sort of thing like that.
I wasn't as multidimensional as I wanted to be back then. Had I really thought about this like grand picture of my life and these issues and the allocation of time and just how all these sub areas have a curve.
Right.
I think I would have allocated differently. I always say like I'm always doing it wrong, but I'm trying to do it better. You just never get it perfectly, right? Like, and so, now I'm like, okay, there's nothing I can do about like how I allocated my time in the past or where I focused on or the mistakes I made, et cetera, or the breakdowns I had. Let's just go from this point forward. And
forget about it, right? Forget about it and figure out, okay, how
just
can I
learn from it? Just learn from it. Not
beat yourself up about it.
Yeah.
Big J Jonah says I beat myself up about everything. So I'm very critical of
the
myself. Hard on my I'm very like
It
that.
is the
So
worst.
it's
Like shaming is like the worst. There's like if you read in the literature that like they don't know where shame ends and addiction begins. Right? Like shame is a huge destructive power in many people's lives and all of our lives, both small and big. And like you know, I'm just quoting something I've heard from other analysts, psychotherapists, whatever, you know, but the literature's out there, right? Like shame and addiction and shame and all these other kind of problems, whether it be food, alcohol, blah, 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 et cetera. It's really bad. You need to not be beating yourself up. Like if you could.
Well, how do you frame that in your own mind to be able to do something like that? Because I think people might say that, but then you say, well, then how does that how do you implement that, or how do you
well, I think
what's the actionable way that you change your mindset to be able to do that?
You have to differentiate between the behavior and the person. I did something bad or I am bad, right? And those words are powerful. Like, oh, I'm such a fool or I'm such a fish. It's like, no, you did something fishy, you know, and you did something foolish. And there's a huge difference, right? Because if you're bad, right, you're going to behave like, well, I'm bad, so I should do what bad people do, right? I'm such X, Y, and Z. And so that's a very powerful distinction. And I think the other thing you do is divide it between, you know, when you do something, you should just think of it as work doesn't work. I did this and it worked. I did this and it doesn't work. And if it doesn't work, don't just, you know, do your best not to do it again, right? And not be beating yourself on it. So it's like if you just divide everything between work doesn't work and behavior versus who I am, you know, I think you're at least taking the steps, right? Like I'm not a shame expert or anything like that. I would dig into it, you know, but practicing that has helped me a lot.
I guess the idea goes out of the idea of forgiveness too, and the idea of forgiving yourself for things you've done in the past that you regret, which is something we've talked about.
Right.
I mean, in fact, we get on this most podcasts, and even when I think about it from my own personal perspective, there are things I've done or mistakes I've made in the past that, you know, is it you block it out, or, you know, how do you accept the idea of that personal forgiveness?
I mean, for me, it's just like I use it as like try and use it as a learning experience, right? Like I did this, it didn't work. I had this experiment, right? Like I'm like, I was this guy's like, oh, you know, like I did this or this bad behavior or X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, that doesn't work. It just doesn't work for me, the other person, et cetera. So like I learned from that, and let's identify that as things that don't work, and we're not going to do it. And that's it. And not go, you know, I did this or therefore I am this person, right? Like once you start defining yourself based on a behavior, you're just down. That path is not a good path.
Right.
It's never ever a good path.
So the idea is that you take in what you've done, or you sort of accept it. You say, okay, I did this, but how can I try to learn from that or get better from that, even though it happened in the past? It is what it is, and I have to get over it, otherwise I'm gonna drive myself sort of crazy.
Yeah. Like, you know, like if you do something silly, like, oh, you don't like bump into a table and be like, oh, I'm a table bumper. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, that doesn't work. I'm gonna walk around the table. Like nobody says that, right? But if they like do something, you know, like I lied or cheated or I did this fishy move in poker, you know, like, oh, I'm such a fish. Like saying those words are really, really bad.
Just
like
the idea,
defining yourself by
self-talk,
some sort of bad, defining yourself on some bad behavior that didn't work, just puts you in that category and then sets you up to behave as that person. You're defining yourself, right? Like why? So you got to stay away from that. And then so I look back at it as like, you know, I bumped the table. Don't bump the table anymore. Go this way. That doesn't work. And I'm not like, oh man, guys, okay, you know, hey, I'm such a table bumper.
Well, what if we take this? I mean, we table bumping, you know, it's something we don't worry about. Now, if we take this to another level about maybe hurting someone in our life that we cared about, you know, now that becomes a little more extreme. Is like, okay, well, am I someone that hurts people all the time? Because
no, you're somebody who hurt somebody, and you, whatever you did, whatever the behavior is, whatever the action is, it just doesn't work. You did a bad thing. You know what I mean? You're not a bad person. Right? There's tons of very, very good people, heroes, people we look up who've done very, very bad things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All of them, you know, they've done things that basically did not work, you know? And that's not, you know, I wouldn't define them by that, right? I'm like, they're just human beings who are going through the human experience who've made mistakes. It's just like every single one of us.
Right.
What
do you feel like is one of the mistakes you've made these past year or two?
Oh my gosh, past year, like,
has there been a mistake?
Oh yeah, I mean, well, obviously professionally, I make trading errors or whatever. I think like most of my mistakes, I would say is.
I didn't realize the Poker Stars banner was in the background. Someone said we had a Poker Stars banner in the background. I just tried to even see that. You're right, but we'll still ban you from the chat forever for being a cocksucker in the chat. But it's okay. It is what it is. So it's okay. Kim Jong Joey's back in full effect right now, bringing the full bans out. Sasha missed that one. It's okay, Sasha. We're on top of that thing right there. So
okay.
But yeah, mistake for yourself. Do you feel like that you've made? Yeah.
I would say that. I think most of it is like kind of time. Like it's like, my ex-wife Stephanie. Like we hold each other accountable. She's pretty good at it, and it's hard hearing negative feedback. Sometimes you get defensive or whatever, and sometimes I get the message, I read it, and I go, rah, 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 and I go, you know what? You're right. Like aside from how I'm feeling about the delivery of the message, etc., you have a valid point. Like I'm spending too much time doing X, and I should be here doing X, Y, and Z. So I think like, some of this makes is, quick to anger in certain scenarios, right? Like not like just taking in the information and going, okay, let me get to a resolution.
Right.
Instead of having to go through this big long process and then go, oh, wait a minute, let's just get to the solution. And then I think it's like the allocation of time problem, like, oh, I chose to do this, but really like in the big bang grand scheme of things, I should be doing that stuff later and this now,
So I guess moving forward, what's the takeaway in terms of how you can, is it just more of a focus on those things that you have some sort of issue with in terms of allocating the time, or is it you have to remind yourself to be in the moment when you feel that anger sort of coming on and say, okay, this is what I want to get better at now. I feel like it's coming up right now. I need to be more present to be able to.
I think it's like more outward focus, right? Like when you're getting angry or things like that, you really think it's like a me thing. Like, oh, you're saying this shit to me. You're making me angry. You're blah, 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 blah. So you're very inward focused, right? So like if I were like outward focused, like how can I help you? How can I solve this problem? How can I alleviate your pain? Right? There's no anger in that, right? Like you're solving it. You're not inward focused. So I think if I switch from a, less of an inward focus and more of an outward focus, we just never have that, right? No matter how the message is delivered or what's going on, et cetera. And so that we're naturally always thinking about ourselves, right? Like our ego, etc. So like if I can, use my mind and my heart to like always think about like let me approach this from outward focus, like how can I help you? What do you need? What is it that I can do to help resolve this? Then you just don't have that.
Interesting, man. We got a little audience out here, guys. We are on the chat. I see a lot of comments out there. You got a shout out you want to give Bill? You got some shout out power in you right now.
Oh my gosh! Shout out
to your trainer. You've been working out these triceps, buddy. These biceps, or you get the veins popping out right now.
I don't know. Like,
listen, man. I don't know what's been going on, man.
I've been eating pretty bad too, and I'm turning 50 in a month. And
50? Holy moly! Yeah. You look younger than me. I think sometimes.
Yeah,
I don't know, man.
Jesus on a
Christ.
good day.
50
after
years
you've been
old,
partying in
Poppy.
Vegas sometimes. Yeah.
It's true. I mean, I've been living in Vegas for a year and a half now, so it's a solid point. You got a shout you want to give out there?
Shout out to
somebody?
my kids.
Shout out to your kids.
Shout out to Lara. Shout out to my friends.
Lara like Sarah. Shout out to shout out Jason Kuhn's final table
Jason
right
Kuhn's
now.
fantasy table, who I'm sweating.
Yeah, final table of the PSPC.
It's amazing,
main event
like watching Jason. We're going break. All right, Jason, calm down. Okay, like you don't have to bluff and win every pot. You don't have to like blast these people off. He comes right back after the dinner break. 4-6 in a small blind. 3 bets the button.
Wait, is that bad? Wait a second. What?
I don't know.
Oh,
4-6 off.
I mean, okay, I didn't know it was bad. All right. Okay.
Flops a 4, I think. Right.
Okay.
And a gutter. Bets, gets raised, then shoves all in for his tournament life. You know what I mean? The guy snap falls. I'm like, what? Like that's not being calm, not getting out of line here. But, I was actually kind of envious. I was like, geez, I want to play that way right now. I'm sitting there folding 8 big blinds with ace 8.
Oh, my God. You've tightened up lately, haven't you?
I was like, I was like, here's the bottom line. Mm-hmm. Things I was doing in the past weren't working. So I did like a George Costanza opposite day. I'm not going to do this, so many times I was like, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do this.
Right.
I think it's like I'm going to like pay attention to ICM implications. I'm going to pay
Wow.
attention. I'm going to get here.
This
And
is
then,
a new day.
And then when
Holy
we finally
crap.
when we
I
finally
know
get
where
into
I'm-
money, I'm going to go weapons
Bro,
free.
who am I talking to right now?
Yeah.
Do you remember when you were playing PLO and I said, just don't 3-bet the small blind? And you
Yeah,
just kept 3-betting the small blind.
I
I
cannot
was
help
like, what are you
myself.
doing?
I can't help myself.
Like, listen, just fold the small blind. Next button, 3-bet it.
Yeah.
Whatever you got, 4 cards is fine. But just stop 3-betting the small blind. And you kept 3-betting the small blind every time.
Yeah.
So I've been hearing. So I did get a message. I want to check. Jonah's got my phone right now. But big shout out to my man Art Papa. I don't know how to say Art P, who plays on Live at the Bike. He said he's been playing a lot with you on GG Poker.
Yeah.
And he said you've gotten a lot better.
Yeah, I figured,
I think his name's like Poker 56, maybe something like that. Like, did I out him? It is what it is. I don't know.
Yeah, I figured if I'm gonna spend this much time playing the game, I might as well like take some time to learn the game and study it, and
Right.
then also take the time to actually listen and do the things that I've been taught. Right, like
Right.
a lot of the I talked to a lot of pros, and it comes to, I was like, listen, you already know, more than maybe some of these other guys. You just there's a discipline issue going on here, right? You can sit at a poker table and you're just like, fuck it, you know what I mean? Like,
Not really.
it's like-
No, I don't. I mean, like,
for me, sometimes I'm sitting there and, this game requires patience. I think that's kind of like one of my like biggest leaks in life, period. Like, I'm just
not patient. Want it.
I just want to happen now, like things to happen immediately, etc. You sit at a poker table, it's like day 2, day 3, and you're just sitting there and just like, oh, I'm sitting here and whatever, and you get any kind of symbol, something like, fuck it, I'm all in. Like, I just want to have the chips or go home. That mentality starts to kick in. It has for me. You don't know.
I've played 2 Texas Hold'em tournaments now in the past a bunch of years, so
Yeah.
I feel like I'm not a big tournament expert when it comes to that. But I can certainly tell you when I played tournaments, that's not what I'm like.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do. I'm gonna fold here.
Yeah, the fatigue, these tournaments, these design, like
it's
the
true,
fatigue of it, and for me, the fatigue is not like I'm so tired. It's just like, oh, I'm bored of shit. I don't want to fold. I want to mix it up. I want to jam it in. I want to do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
And not having the cards necessarily to do that. Just the will. And the gamble to do it.
So you feel like now you've been more accepting to be patient when it comes to not ramming and jamming, and more realizing like, hey, is it something with you want to see what kind of success you could have playing more of an optimal strategy? Is that something that you care about, or is it just a time came where you were fine? Like what snapped because you've been playing for a long time now, and that wasn't the approach I know that you've had when we first started talking about things.
It's like, if you're gonna, I've just made a decision. Like, if you're gonna play the game, do the things that are required to win, right? And not just go, oh, the pool looks nice today. It's only 1K. I want to get out, right?
Yeah.
Like, or X, Y, and Z. Like, oh, I just want to have the chips and just kind of stick with it. So before I sit, I'm like, these are if I'm gonna come here, hold myself accountable. If I'm gonna do this, I'm going to play this way, right? Not going to be too shy, but I'm going to play this way to the best of my abilities and not just go, oh, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I might get into a spot where it's like, oh, this guy opened this. I found myself in spots I would never, ever, ever, ever do. I'm in a big blind with ace, king, small blind, 3 bets, the cutoff, and I'm just like, fold. You know what I mean?
No.
Correctly folded, guys. You got
No, I
jacks.
don't. No, once again, I'm
With
failing.
15 big
I'm
blinds.
failing. I want to get there though. I'm gonna get there.
It's just like, they're just like, that was just like a snap all in flip for my tournament life,
Oh, Phil Hellmuth style right here. It sounds like.
No,
Okay.
back in the day, it's just
Okay.
like, let's get it in. But I'm like, no, we're only like 80 off the money. I got like X big blinds. Like I'm like, these pressures start building. I'm paying attention to them and playing the tournament poker way. There might be people out there going, no, you got to ship it.
I gotta defer to the Germans on this one. I
Yeah,
gotta,
the
I gotta
Germans
ask
could
them
ship
what
it.
they think. If they say fold ace king, I fold ace king there. I just listen to what they say.
It's like,
they seem to have a lot of good information going on.
I
out
mean,
there.
for me, it's like, the way I understand it now, and somebody might change my understanding of the situation, like a 3-bet out of the small blind versus a cutoff is a super, super strong 3-bet. And he bet it big, and I'm just like, wow. My only option is shove in there.
I think maybe you could small 4-bet too. I think they actually say us you shouldn't cold call in the small blind, so you should be 3-betting more. But when you 3-bet from the big blind, you're actually 3-betting on a stronger range because you're going to be calling more from the big blind. So I think it might be reversed too.
Well, based on the guy's chip stack, I had 0 fold equity. He's like never folding.
Okay,
so like
so
based on what he has, like he has a strong pocket pair. Right, and so I'm basically hoping my best case scenario is 2 overs is the way I read the scenario. Right, so now I'm a slight dog, to be,
Right.
to
No,
be
yeah.
basically out in the tournament like a chip. Maybe I have the guy like slightly covered or whatever. And my next, basically I'm all in on the small blind if I lose this flip.
Right.
Whereas like, I'm pretty like 80-90% to getting the money if I just chill and pick better spots.
Right.
I mean, it's just better spots. I don't know if it's the right thing, wrong thing, but
You'll learn.
I wouldn't even consider that conversation before.
Right.
Like that conversation in my head was just like, what?
Yeah.
Let's get it in, kid.
I'm just reading the comment. I remember you actually mentioned this word before, the idea of sport fucking. I believe you did mention that in the past podcast, I believe.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
On the first one, so I just saw that comment. And
It kind of hit your eyeball.
But I'm not actually talking about that right now. But what do you feel like one of the number one mistakes poker players that you see are making when it comes to handling themselves as a professional poker player in terms of maximizing their success, as if they define their idea of success as having the maximum they can from their poker ability and winning?
I see. Wow, that's a good question. Like,
because I know you interact with a lot of different people out there, and
I see. Like, if you notice, I think like your demeanor and your integrity mean a lot. Like, this is very, very, very similar to trading back in the day, right? Like, knowing someone's abilities or not, we know they're going to do their best and going to work at it, etc. But like, I see. I hear of stories or know of stories where people's like, oh, this guy kind of scummed me on this or blah, blah, blah. That opportunity cost is so huge. Mm-hmm. So huge. Like, I've had people come up to me that are actually pretty good, right? And they're like, oh, well, you buy a piece, whatever. And, I'm like, all right, before I get into a situation where it's risky off the bat, I'm going to know the integrity of this person or the history of this person, what are their tendencies. I have to get the feedback and investigate what I'm investing. And they're like, oh, this guy kind of stiffed this or this happened or blah, blah, blah. Now, some of it's rumor and you got to get rid of it. But, like, I try and go to trustworthy people who understand it. And it's just like, no, right? Like, I met Jen Harmon a while back. It's kind of a funny story here. And I was just like, Jen, here's a $25K. Go buy in. I'll give you a piece. She was like, what are you doing? She's like, nothing, whatever. But like on reputation alone, that she was honest. Mm-hmm. I her ability, whatever. She, like I wasn't like the best expert of her ability, and I just put her in, cut a deal out of nowhere.
Right.
Just out of nowhere. Like, I want to back you, whatever, and threw it. I was like, don't worry about bullets 5, 2, or 3, etc. Right. Whereas a guy who might be, or a girl who might be 10x better, but has like integrity issues, mm-hmm. or like, or actually even just like not a nice person or a dick. It's like, you know what? There's a million people I can deal with. I'm not going to deal with a dick.
So you feel like,
you know what I mean?
So you feel like as professional poker players, kind of that is the number one mistake they're making, or do you see that?
I just think it's just one of the things I notice. Like, you're running a business, like some of these guys, like, it's their own money, whatever. Right. Like they don't have to deal with that, But I think there's a lot of opportunity cost based on the person you are and how you interact. Like, nobody does. One of my favorite things is nobody does great things alone. Not one person. Like, I'm always like, even Jesus had disciples, right? And so, like, all great things require other people, right? You look at civil rights, you look at Lincoln, you look at any historical figure. Like, this is a great man. The thousands of people he had to enroll in his vision, right, to get this great thing done. So even as a poker player, like, if you're trying to be great, you got to enroll other people that invest in you or whatever. And, like, there's stuff off the felt that's greater than poker, right? The poker pool is yay big, right? The world is yay big,
yeah,
right? And so a lot of people are like, I want to get into this, or I want this opportunity, whatever. It's like, if you're Joe, business guy, and you have a thing and you're letting people into something hot, you're going to let the poker dick in or the poker good guy in? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so, like, this follows you. And, like, that's when I was young, I don't know who originally said it, or maybe I, like, kind of took 2 points together. I'm like, you're always on interview. You're just always on an interview. You don't even know it.
Right.
Like, my path to, like, the job that, like, kind of set me off and hit it was, like, I was a broker over the counter coming from the floor. And my client was like, hey, why don't you come down? I'm going to come down and visit, broker taking out his client, the trading client, etc. Little did I know, like, this dinner and, like, this talk or whatever, they were interviewing me. Mm. I had no fucking clue. I go back to New York. They offered me a job to run their options trading desk. And, kind of like my career path was history, right? Imagine I'd been an asshole.
Yeah.
Or like kind of dickish, or not on my best, or whatever, or had all these other things, right? I wouldn't even known I missed that opportunity. This whole life of Bill Perkins, blah 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 blah, whatever I am right now, wouldn't exist, right? Wouldn't exist. That whole opportunity I missed. So like, I often tell people like the opportunity costs that you have or you don't see is huge, right? And so, biggest mistake, I don't know, but I have to say that we have a lot of like people who don't incorporate the whole aspect of this business, this poker business, into their lives and their demeanor and how they act and how they interact with people.
That'd be a good clip for Twitter and Instagram right there.
You like that?
That'd be a good one right there.
You like that? You like that?
We'll take a question from we do have people here. I feel like there's people that are more. Does anybody out there have a question? This is the first time I've ever had a live in-person question right now. So this is a little different. Anyone have a question out there? Anybody? Val, Big J, nobody. Valerie's got one. Valerie. Oh yeah, so you gave away you decided to give away a World Series Poker main event seat if somebody could guess the hand that you busted out against, and then I think it was Anna. She sent you.
She got it, and another person. So, well, I talk about the idea. The idea is like we want to entertain people, right? We want to have value, and there's always this like kind of like value exchange, and I want to make the value exchange fun. Right, like on my Thirst Lounge channel and the brand we're trying to build, right? We have people going on, and so like everybody knows, like if you sign up for Match and you refer a Match customer, that's the customer acquisition cost is like $25, right, per head, or $150. Like if you get somebody to sign up on Match, they'll give you
Match?
like Match.com.
Okay.
Or any kind of vertical, any kind of integrated vertical, right?
Okay. Well,
like
I don't know.
they'll
know
pay you
Match.com.
or Tinder.
Okay, Tinder. Okay.
But a paid Tinder account, like. All these companies will, and I'm going back like 10,000 feet, and I'll come down to the meat of the question is that each eyeball, each whatever has a value. They will pay for it, right? And I'm just kind of more transparent and want to make it fun for people to come in, and promotions. I want to make promotions fun, and I want to give a little bit more of that value directly to the people, right? And not the middleman, right? And so, like basically dating websites will give you 3 months of or 2 months of the sign up fee as a bonus, right?
Okay.
Like there's a whole business of that. Like people who run SEO, etc. Amazon will give you a percentage of the sale if you run it through. All of them do it, and they just figure out like my customer acquisition cost is $25. I'll pay you a $20 bounty. They'll pay it to you. They don't care how they get the customer. They'll pay it to you. I just go direct. I don't want to make it fun and get it for them and what's going on, right? Like, and I'm just more transparent about it,
right.
And so. I think it's fun, people always sweating for you to win or whatever, but like I'm gonna, eventually I'm either gonna win it or bust out, right? And somebody's gonna win, and it's in the poker community, and I think it's kind of fun for people to do that, like
right.
to have a guest, to have a free roll, to not to have to go through a whole bunch of bullshit. All you gotta do is guess something and go in. And I think it's a way to just like drive engagement, keep people on their toes, right? Like, you know what I mean? Push the Poker News refresh button, bust Perkins, bust, whatever it is, and get them to World Series Poker. And I get so many, why I chose the World Series of Poker package, and that it's like I wanted to make it big, right? So more people try and get in, right? And I get so many like, hey, will you please put me in the World Series of Poker, blah, blah, blah. It's just seems
I get messages from like that about you. They say, hey, can you put me in touch with Bill Perkins? Like, I got a bet. I want him to stake me.
Yeah.
I'm like, well,
it's
I
like,
get that all the time,
I get
actually.
that. I get so many of those, like, come in, like, put in. So I'm just like, what kind of prize should I give away? It sounds, it's like, well, the people have spoken. They want a World Series of Poker main event entry, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, okay, so we'll give one away, right? And we'll have a random drawing if 2 people guess the correct hand, and we'll just have a drawing. What happened is one email got into our spam box.
Yeah, Anna.
Right. So we said it was only one, and then we gave the win. It was like, oh wow, we kind of fucked up. Well, this is gonna be expensive. I wasn't planning on this, but we'll give 2. Here's 2, right? And so it's just like whatever. We made a mistake. Own up to it. It should have been 1 after a drawing, but we'll just give away 2.
Yeah. What would be the number one piece of advice you'd give? Well, I mean, maybe, okay. What would be the number one piece of advice you'd give to somebody who is at a final table of a PSPC event who stands to potentially win $5.1 million, what would be the number one piece of advice you'd give to a man like that if there was a man around here or potentially watching out there right now?
Yeah. I was like, I would say
this could be any final. This could be
anybody, or it could be standing
table.
right in the room around there.
Maybe next year's final table as well too. What would be the number one piece of advice you'd give to that person?
I would say play your game, be patient. Patience is key. Be patient, and play your cards well. There's very few opportunities in life you get to be in a situation like that,
right?
Where you're going to play for $1 million pay jumps, right? Like those come far and few between in life, and so take it very seriously. Get the information you need to succeed, but don't not do your best. Right, and your best is different on different days, right? But whatever it is today, get the information, be patient, play your game, let the cards, land where they may.
What if your game is 2-3-bet 4-6 and then bet 3-bet with bottom pair, and if that's what's got you to that point, and you feel like, okay, me being aggressive in those situations, because this happens to a lot of people, they get to a point they're at with these aggressive plays that in their mind they feel like are good, and then they say, okay, I'm going to do that again in the future, and then it works, so it doesn't work in some cases. So what would you say to someone like that where they decide to take a route like that? How do you, because that's how they got there, that's what their game is.
Yeah, well, I would say this, that some people use the Force, and I don't mean Jedi Force, I mean the force of chips and putting them in the middle, right? Use the Force, right? But the game is dynamic, it changes, right? So what may have worked to get you there against these opponents may not work on the final table, right? I'm not the expert right here. I would consult the wizards, about this, but my understanding is like the game is very dynamic and the situations change, so make sure you understand that using the Force appropriately, right, is the way to go.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I don't know. Maybe we'll have someone out there take that advice.
Maybe that guy in the audience over there.
Take that input. Well, I mean, listen,
with the initials JK.
But you never know. There could be somebody that's at the final table of the $35 Golden Nugget tournament that takes that in, and then they say, okay, well, maybe I'll apply that, because I feel like that's applicable to any final table situation, not just, it's all relative in terms of money for different people. And sometimes winning $10,000 for someone is going to be a lot of money, where sometimes winning $5 million for someone is going to be a lot of money too. So
yeah, that's great. I mean, the one thing is poker's a dynamic game in the tournament, right? That there's different things for different times and periods, and that's a great thing about it, right? Like you're playing one way, you're playing another way, et cetera. So there's so many variables changing all the time. It feels fresh and new every single time because it's dynamic. But you said about money and other considerations. I really love the story about the guy who was considering folding aces and his final decision, the PSPC winner. It's just off the felt considerations in the money. It's this really complex decision, and I guess they thought he was slow rolling with aces, but he's not. He's got he's got these huge thing to think about. The 25K cash is significant. It's a life changer for him. And he's like, wow, am I going to sit here and have whatever it is, a 20% chance that I don't get this life-changing money, or am I going to go for it and play aces? And his decision was if I'm not willing to call with aces, I shouldn't be playing the game. And he put in aces. And I just, regardless of the decision, whether you're just no, you just fold and get the guaranteed money, life-changing money, or whatever, I just think that's just an awesome spot.
Yeah.
And a very difficult spot. And I really just love that story.
Mm-hmm.
Because we all have it in life, in different ways, whether it be a personal relationship or whatever, right? Do I fly across country and risk my job or whatever for this relationship that may work, or blah, 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 and yada, 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 but there's a 20% chance I lose my job and then everything blows up and this doesn't work, or do I stay here and not take that chance, There's all kinds of situations like that in life that are just wow.
So you feel like that's an applicable situation to other scenarios that might come up, not just poker, but in your life or in business?
We all have these scenarios. It's you have 80% chance of a life-changing event just sitting here, but if you do it, you might have 3x or 4x it or whatever, right? You know what I mean? You might have this. It can be greater, right? So do you take the guarantee or do you take the greater, right? You know, it's kind of like almost the whole concept of Deal or No Deal, right? That whole show is just a whole bunch of like, take the money now. No, don't take the money. You know, it's a little bit of map piracy.
What do you take in that scenario then? If there's a potential spot for you, have you had a situation like that come up where you've considered?
I've always been on the take as much risk as you can stand and then add a little bit more philosophy.
That's true. We've heard you say that before, for sure.
Yeah, you know, like it just, you know, my thing in life is like, just think about the maximum risk you can take and then just add a little bit more and then go with that, you know, with respect to yourself. Like, I mean, I can't make that decision for my kids or other people that are around me, but like for me, that's kind of what I want to do, you know, professionally, personally, you know, emotionally, spiritually, etc. So, you know, that's my philosophy. You know, it's like one ride, right? Like you ride this roller coaster and then you die. Like they stick you in a box and the ride is over. You know, and before you die, you get to look back on your ride. You know, that narrative of your life is defined by your memories, right? Like how I define myself, how you define yourself, and I think everybody else is based on their experiences, their cumulative experiences to that point that have, you know, who they are and the decisions that what they're going to be. And so, you know, towards the end of my life, I'm going to be looking back at this narrative, this story, and I'm going to get pleasure from the story, all these memories. And I want it to be the most fucking rocking ride that ever was. You know, rocking, loving, outrageous life that I could possibly muster, you know?
So what do you feel like you say to people? Because you say that, and then people say, well, if I had the money like this guy would, then I would do that, but I don't have that amount of money. So people that are rich say things like that, but what about the people that don't have that money? How do they maximize their experiences or their things? This is a common thing I see in comments or I see from feedback from in terms of maybe that.
Yeah, people say that, but, you know, I was driving a limo at night to make ends meet, you know, on the floor as a clerk, you know, and like, you know, there is, you know, the one thing about the United States of America, there's generally a floor, right? Like, you can go be a waiter, you can do whatever, you can do X, Y, and Z. Like, we have the luxury of not having those decisions where we're just going to be starving, right? We're not in Cambodia where like, wow, if I take this risk and go here or whatever, my kids or whatever are not going to eat, etc. We have like safety nets, etc. So, you know, the downside is kind of limited, right, etc. And so it's actually, for me, when I was younger, it was like, why the hell not? Like, I can always be Joe, at the time, 16K. You know what I mean? You know, 20K a year guy, right? Like, I can always be that, right? Like, I'm going to hustle and blah, blah, blah and take this shot, right? You know, granted, you know, if I saved up 2K and I blew 2K, it was 100% of my net worth, right? But so what? You know what I mean? If it's so close to the floor, right? Like now, like the dollar's at risk, the value at risk is so much bigger, and the ride is so much better. So I kind of disagree with that statement. Like it's easier for a rich guy to say. I think it's easier when, you know, you ain't got nothing to lose.
Interesting. So you think that when the floor's so low, and if you can always reach that floor, why not go after it?
Yeah, it's like, I'm not going to fight an MMA fighter right now. Like, I'm not going to go in a ring and fight the guy. But if the guy's in my house and he's trying to kill my kids, whatever, we're fighting. I got nothing to lose. You know what I mean? He's attacking me. Like, I'm like, I'm going to die unless I do my best right here, right? So, like, but I'm not going to voluntarily go get in a ring, right? You know what I mean? So
maybe you might. I don't know. Prop bet's on the line. You might get excited.
Go get your ass kicked for, you know, whatever. Yeah, I go get my ass kicked for a certain amount of money.
Okay. What is we had a question earlier from the chat from Chinchilla is God. Hey, he says, Bill, any advice you'd give a 20-year-old? And this is actually not necessarily specific to age, but you'd give to an aspiring pro struggling to meet other poker players? Because people ask me this a lot. How can I go meet other people? And I feel like having you mentioned earlier, you can't do it alone. I feel like having that support system of people around you is really important for you to get better at poker. And what would you advice you'd give to someone like that to try to meet other poker players and make friends and grow their circle?
Yeah, I'm going to loop that back to an early question. Like you said, well, what are some of the mistakes? Like, wait, think about that. Like, his learning and how he learns and the information will be picked up will be based on not on how good of a poker he is or how smart he is, but on his interpersonal skills and his ability to interact with other people. Like, how do I break the ice with this person? How do I go out there, right? Like, so his poker career in certain aspects is dependent on things that are not poker. Right? If he somehow gets in goods with the Germans, you know, a year later, this guy comes out the Wizard Factory, right?
Like Jonah. Like Jonah,
right? Like these guys go into the Wizard Factory, like,
so
Wow, the correct answer is I don't know, but it's like, you know, you're gonna have to take some risk to be around these people, right? Like you have to have interactions in order to develop a rapport, et cetera. You need to be able to reach out and you know, learn and ask questions, you know, and et cetera. So I really don't know the correct answer to that, but like it's something that, you know, I just want to highlight about how, you know, the off the felt stuff
can impact the on the felt
it's
stuff.
more impact. And I think, like, you know, some of the poker players, the people coming in, or even some of the pros are so one dimensional, right? There's just this huge opportunity cost. And so for him, the opportunity cost of getting better, faster, or whatever, or with the Wizards is entirely dependent on his ability to meet, interact, and enroll these people and accepting them.
Right.
You know?
But I guess a lot of people don't have access to the Wizards of the world. They're playing a 2-5 in Minnesota, where the cap is, I don't even know what the cap is out there. They're playing in their local casino in the Midwest, or they're in Prague or something like that. So in that situation, I think it's about kind of just talking to people. And
well, I'll give you an example of this that Lara does, right?
Okay.
Like, so Lara's like, you know, we travel around, and like I always want my girlfriend by my side. I'm just like, if I could just keep you with me all the time, you know what I mean? Like that's it, right? And she's like, no, I'm going to go, you know, dancers have to stay proficient by taking dance classes. And there was this one class by this group, these guys called Rich and Tone. They're like the OGs, you know, did Michael Jackson videos. They're great dancers, et cetera. And they're giving a workshop. And she's going to go fly to this workshop. And I was just like, oh, you're going to this workshop. It's a week. You're going to miss this, blah, blah, blah. She's like, I want to do this. I got to stay proficient, do dance. But I want to meet Rich and Tone. I want them to see me. I want to be in front of them. I want them to know who I am. And I'm going to go to this workshop and that workshop, et cetera. And I want to network, et cetera. So, you know, just learning from Lara, right? Just a recent example, I would say, you know, a lot of these poker pros and poker wizards, they have classes or things, et cetera, or what's going on. Go, take the class, get known, ask questions that you don't understand, develop a rapport. You know, like, just find a way, right? Like, find a way. So Lara's find a way is, you know, I'm going to be in this class. I'm going to be working with them for 8, 9, 10 hours a day, sweating our asses off, doing all kinds of routines for like 5 days. And I'm, you know, in this class, et cetera. But now, you know, Rich and Tone, they know Lara's name. They know who she is. She knows which they're capable of, and she's learned from them, et cetera. And the other goals have happened. So I would just go, that seemed to work. Let's take that example and apply it to the poker guys. Like, you know, go to, you know, so-and-so's workshop, you know, Doug, Polk, Berkey, you know, the German Wizards, et cetera, because like the poker guys are now like, all right, you know, eventually everybody's going to learn this thing and get good. Let's let out some of our secrets and let's give classes, and then that's a great place to meet.
yeah, I think like forums as well too. There's Reddit Poker, there's 2+2, there's Facebook groups, there's Twitter. I think there's a lot of options out there, but it kind of requires putting yourself out there and taking a risk and being vulnerable and getting rejected or saying someone, hey, I don't want them to talk to you or anything.
Looking
like
a
that.
fool, right?
Yeah,
like
exactly,
you have to be willing. Like I mean, if you're gonna do something great, like you have to be willing to look like an idiot. Like you could just it's just gonna happen. It doesn't matter whether you're an artist, painter, a lover, whatever. Like you just have to be willing to look like a fool in a third person's eyes and not care, right? And you're gonna take that risk. So what the platform is, you know, there's many platforms like the same Facebook Live, whatever groups are gonna meet these, you know, people, but like you're just gonna have to willing to go out there and get it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think that's an interesting point. Just sometimes you have to message people. You have to get out there. I mean, like, you know, Danielle, she messaged me and she said, hey, you know, I want you to meet my boyfriend at the time, now fiance, but I want you to meet him. And then she, you know, she was persistent about it. Whereas, so now here we are, we got to meet yesterday. Now we're here. Whereas some other people out there, if they want to meet you or not, then they say, oh, well, I don't want to be rejected or look like an idiot or whatever. So they decide not to take that chance. And you never know where something like that sort of leads to if that's something that you're after.
Yeah. And it's not like it always works, right? Like one of my greatest attempts at like dating a girl, having a girlfriend was like an epic failure. But I'm so it was like I put the maximum press on this story. Like I think, did I tell you about the restaurant story?
Well, no, I don't know. I don't think so.
I was like, I was divorced and I was like in a spot, whatever, and I met this girl who looked like my college girlfriend. I was just like instantly like, you know what I mean? Like, so, you know, she's much younger and I'm just like, oh, come down and visit me, whatever, blah, 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 blah. She's like, no, I got to work at a restaurant and they need me and they're dependent on me, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to just make this a long story short. Like, I hired a detective, find the owner of the restaurant.
What?
I hired, serious. She's like, I don't. If I do, then
Cut this one out later after the fact. Okay, you hired a detective.
Hired a
Okay.
restaurant, whatever.
Okay.
Got the owner, got him to shut down, make up a story of an ice storm. Pay the employees as if they work. Shut down the restaurant so she could be off work so I can come down so she can meet her. It was like an epic failure, like the dating or whatever. Like it didn't go anywhere, whatever. But I was just like, I'm gonna do whatever the fuck it takes so that she has the ability to hang out with me. Right? It was like so foolish. My staff is like, we found a guy, we got the owner's cell phone, we did whatever. I'm pretty sure in their minds they'd be like, what the fuck is he doing? You know what I mean? Like, could he just wait? You know? Like, but I was just like hell bent on like having a shot.
So are we saying this is GTO? Like we should recommend this, or was this
No,
not,
I'm
in
just,
retrospect? This was a little out of
no,
line.
No,
or
I'm
what?
just.
Like,
it wasn't out of line. It was just like I don't regret making the effort, even though the result was X, Y, and Z. And so I'm saying, like, you get used to rejection, right? Like, you're going to go out there, you're going to make this big pitch. You know, I had a kid, I was going to visit. Lara was in Oklahoma on doing a movie or shoot, whatever. She was in a show, this golf comedy. And, you know, I went out there and I did a video where I'm going, you know, whatever. I posted it.
Yes, yeah.
Some kid from Dallas, 100 miles per hour in a car, sees me I was wasting time in like a bowling alley, bowling by myself because Lara's on shoot or whatever. Sees me at the bowling alley, 100 miles per hour from Dallas, catches me at the bowling alley. He's like, I drove 100 miles per hour here, you know, 2 hours, you know what I mean, to meet you, to get some advice or whatever, to talk about X, Y, and Z, to be a trader. I was like, what the fuck? Like, at first you're like, oh, this is a little scary. Am I about to die? You know what I mean? Like, is this kid gonna pull out a gun? But like, no, I get it. Like, I see myself in him back in the day. Like, I'm gonna do what it takes. I think this is a source that can help me. I can learn from, etc. I'm gonna fly out there, whatever. I said, sure, hang out. I gave him my time or whatever. I hope he got value from it, you know, etc. And that was that. So, you know, I even though it's spooky a little bit sometimes, right? When you see maximum effort, because we just don't see that. We don't operate in maximum effort, right? But I thought it was great. You know, I thought it was great because I seen things like me, you know, doing this, going out. I can be the best. I can be whatever. Blah blah blah. I mean,
Right,
there's like 50,000 no's. You know, I've gotten like no, great effort. Blah blah blah.
You still get no's a lot now when you go around and meet people or talk to people?
Yeah, I get a lot of no's. Like I had a deal one time. Like I had a deal that was like falling apart, and I needed like $6 or $10 million tomorrow that I didn't have, like the cash. Like I just didn't have, like this deal was going to
That happens.
It happened. Like no, so it happens. And it was like I don't have it. Like I have to have this, and I'm like dialing for dollars. I'm like, okay, do I care more about my ego that I don't have this cash to close this deal, to post this collateral, or do I care more about closing this deal? I was like, well, I care more about close this deal. Okay, so now you need to call people you would never call, like the day before Christmas, etc. And I'm dialing people like, nah, I don't understand the deal. I can't invest, blah, 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 blah. I call the guy. He's like, I don't have it, but I know this guy who you met for an hour on a plane, right? I'll keep it anonymous, right? Who has it? He may be interested, right? I call him up. I'm like, what do I got to fucking lose? And actually, I got to know. I called, I can say this. I called Dan Blazarian's father. Okay. He's like, listen, sounds interesting, but I don't know it. But I'll tell you a story. And he tells me a story back in the day about like KKR Nabisco, where like one of the head guy ripped up a deal and he had to get $25 million in 24 hours and he flew around, whatever. And he's like, so keep going. He gave me like the pep story. I'm like, great, the pep story. I'm dialing for dollars again, you know, like I didn't get the money, I rather, you know, et cetera. And I finally had a friend who recommended a guy who I flew on a plane with an hour where we had a nice, interesting conversation. We talked about it. He squeezed me for a bigger percent of the deal, but whatever. It was like deal or no deal, right? Like, right. And he called somebody else who knew me, and he's like, listen, if you lose, it's not going to be because Perkins screwed you over or whatever. He's fairly good at what you know, but his integrity is impeccable, whatever. I got the money that day. And so what did it take? It took me having integrity, right? Because people, like a reputation I built, an opportunity cost, and not being a dick on the plane and talking to this guy on the plane, so he had like some semblance of who I was, right? And also really squashing my ego to the fucking basement.
Yeah.
Right? Like, just like, what's more important, the deal? And I was just like, because I'm like a lot of people, like when they get like some modicum of success or whatever, like you don't want to ask for help.
Right.
Like, it's really, really hard for me to ask for help. Really, really hard. I'm like one of those, fuck you guys, I can do it myself, yada, yada, yada. Like, that voice in my head happens a lot, you know? And I think it's hard for a lot of people to ask for help and go out there because they don't want to be seen as needy or they don't want to be seen as X or whatever. So I fought all those demons, had a talk with myself, and was like, I remember in the kitchen on Stanmore Drive calling and hearing, no. Well, maybe this guy you should call. I don't know this guy. Well, fuck it. Let me get on there, sending PDFs on email about the deal or whatever, and getting the deal come. You know, and then I return. You know, results oriented, but like I returned their money with a 100% return, 100% return in a year.
So you feel like,
and that was like a free roll to get me more money. You know what I mean?
Exactly,
and then another
right.
money, and I made money
from
and
there,
whatever.
goes
Yeah,
from there,
yeah,
goes
yeah.
from
And
there,
then I was able to take that thing. But like, if you really think about it, it was I didn't give up. And I put my ego in check. That's where the money came from. You know?
Seems like a common thread today is a lot of risk you've taken. You're not scared of rejection or looking like an idiot, as you said, or putting yourself out there, and you sort of just you figure out what you want, and then you decide I'm going to do whatever it takes to try to get that.
Yeah, I think that like the hardest part now for me is like figuring out actually what do I want and what am I not being cultured to want. You know what I mean? Like it's like I you know, there's very obvious examples of like the food you eat is basically your culture, right? Like you've just been taught to like this and trained to it, right? Like if you're born in a certain area of the world, you like different foods, you like different whatever, and then you do certain things, etc. So you figuring out like what do I naturally want and discovering those things. That's like one of the hardest parts, you know, and not being on autopilot. And you know, once I do that, like really like prioritizing, what do I want more?
Right.
You know, what do I want more, and what is the current obstacle for me getting that? You know, and like 99% of the time, 99.9% of the time, that obstacle is me. You know?
Just your own, dealing with your own emotions. And your
yeah,
own
like I
about
went
it,
to, you know, the one thing, like, you know, the best thing I got out of Choice is like your victim story. It's like, I religiously believe that I am a victim of nothing. Right? Circumstances happen, things happen to everybody. My dad dies, your dad is going to die, you know what died, somebody's going to break your heart, blah, 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 blah. All these bad things, that's part of life's bargain. Like, you cannot go through life without bad shit happening, right? That is just life's bargain. And no matter who you look at, no how to sexual, whatever, blah, 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 they have some sort of travesty. And so how you deal with that travesty is what's going to define you and your ride, right? And you're in control of that, right? You got to take what you're in control of and apply that. So... and just be religious about it. You don't have to, like, you know, you can give up and you can say, I'd rather just be comfortable and chill. There's no real wrong decision. It's just what do you want and what's the obstacle. And so in that very specific example that worked out, and some of them don't work, is that I wanted this deal to happen more than I wanted to be seen as X, as not needy or not X, Y, and Z. And I tell that story some other people in more detail to other people, like to go over like the nuances of like how cringy it was to me to be like, hi, it's Bill Perkins. I need $10 million. I know it's Christmas Eve. You know what I mean? But I need it before January 1 to close this deal.
And the way anyone out there can take this is they can apply it to whatever their own situation is or what they want to get.
It doesn't matter. The number is, I just, the number is big for dramatic effect, but it could be $1,000. Like, you know, when I was 22, it could be like, I can't make rent. You know what I mean? Like, or I can't whatever, or I got to do this, or I'll do X, Y, Z. For me, it was like, when I was younger, you know, it was like, I got to drive a limo at night. I never driven a limo before in my life. I was just like, the boss was like, hey, our limo driver, if we quit or whatever, blah, blah, blah. I was like, "Hello, sir. I will drive that limo." You know what I mean? Like, what? How much do these guys make? They make more than me. You know what I mean? And the drunk guys driving around in a limo. I mean, there's a bunch of rich traders, right? Like, I'm driving a limo around because they don't want to drive and they want to go do coke and visit whorehouses, secret whorehouses in New York City. The tips are great. You know what I mean? They come out like, "Here you go, Perkins." I'm like, "Yay, $300." And so, like the fact that.
No, I don't. Once again.
Well, I mean, you've been a limo driver in New York City at night.
I've never been driving around the traders.
Driving traders in a limo. I mean, I've got like some of the craziest stories or whatever doing that stuff. But it's just you put your ego to rest. Like yeah.
Well, kind of going back to the idea of what you want now. What do you want now? Where do you feel like is it just more simple things or simple things in life, like in terms of family and those sorts of things, or is there other things specific that's what you're trying to get to, or that's what you're trying to get after? So I feel like now you're in a good position to kind of get maybe whatever it is that you want to get to when it comes to a thing or an idea or those sorts of things.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that a lot now, especially I think like as you get older and you hit a number like 50, it's like, okay, I'm hitting the home stretch, right, to the grave. Like I'm like the ride. The roller coaster's been going. There's some great loops and turns and blah, blah, blah. And I threw up on turn 5 or whatever. But, like, I'm almost to the point where I can see the end of the ride, right, the end of the station. And so that's a really good question. Of like, I'm really, like, going like, hey, and as I write this book and I talk about it, I'm like, oh, wow. As I'm saying, I'm working with an economist, behavioral economist. I'm working. We're building this model, and I'm thinking about the model, and I'm thinking about things. I'm like, wow, I'm off model myself. You know what I mean? Like, I'm actually doing too much of X and too much of Y, and like now, like if I'm going to break out of that like kind of autopilot thing of these habits that I formed, right? What is it I'm going to do with this time, and do I have the courage to break out?
Yeah.
Right, and do it. And so I haven't really completely discovered that yet. I'm easing into it. I really, really want to, give my kids and the loved ones and my friends the gift of my time here now and enjoy them, right? That's part. You give people money and your kids so they can have experiences, but like part of that experiences is good times and positive life experiences, and part of that time is with me, right? So if you ask me, could I go back in time, you ask anybody, somebody who died, right? How much would you pay to go back and spend one day with that person in time and change it, right? Like how much would you pay, right? They pay a fuck ton of money generally, right? They can pick a lot of money. And so that's value, right? That's inheritance, right? And so like I'm trying to like think of it from the grave looking back, right? Like, or the end of my life looking back, like I want to give that to them now, right? Not have them have to pay. So you're trying to figure out not have to pay future time travelers millions and millions of dollars to go back in time to spend a day with me because they've already got it, right? They got all the juice, right? So there's some of that. There's a standard like I want to travel, I want to see the world, I want to meet interesting things, and I also want to have some potluck, right? Like because my idea of a good time and what I should be doing is very much formed by where I was born, how I was raised, the people I interact, like very just like potluck, right? Like it's just here, just like the culture what I'm in, and I want to break out of that and some random experiences, so I don't just have this predetermined life.
Yeah, I feel like this past year for you has kind of been pretty consistent in terms of you spend a lot of time in St. Thomas, you go to Houston a little bit, you go to Vegas, or you go to LA a little bit, Vegas once in a while, but really not much venture. I seen like maybe there was like a trip, I believe, it was a trip like Italy or something like that. I think hopped in there where you guys went out there for a bit. But it does seem like you've maybe been kind of sticking around those comfort zones and those comfortable places that you've been. In terms of what I'm talking to, I know that your idea is that you want to break out and visit these different cultures like that. Yeah, but I've noticed you have not been doing that as much.
It's actually been I wouldn't say a bad year. Yeah, I would say it's a bad year in terms of like getting to the core of the things that I want and I want to do, right? Like, I think one of the best things I ever did in my life was going on safari. I mean, I've heard for years, you got to go on safari, I did it. I was just like, this is a religious experience I'm having right now. This is just like amazing. And travel and meet people. And I think like I focus too much on work and tax savings and other crap. And then, at the end of the year, I'm just like, why did I do that? Like, what value at the end of the day did I get out of it? Like, I'm not like a guy that's really going to die with much money. You know what I mean? Like people confuse me with a billionaire because of the way I spend, right? Like, you know what I mean? It's like, they're like, oh, Perkins is a billionaire. It's like, I'm not, but I'm, most people who are billionaires or have higher net worth than me, they just die with all this money, right? I mean, and I spend like, 2x what they do, you know what I mean? Doing things or going around or having fun or goofing off. And so people confuse my net worth, right? Because of my behavior, right? And I, as I run my model, I may be running too high on the spend curve early, right? But closer, but closer to the line than your average like successful person. Anyone like the average net worth of like a 70-year-old is like let's say it's $160,000 a household, and then it goes up at 75 to $175,000. I'm just like, what the fuck are they saving for? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, it's like the most crazy thing I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, they're delaying gratification to the grave. I'm just like, what the hell? You know what I mean? Like, that money, they should be deaccumulating their assets. And like, not only that, what happens, what I think you see happen in the world is, at least in our world, in the United States of America and probably in Europe and in a lot of places is, and this is not for inheritance or whatever about the kids, is what happens is that they tend to delay gratification, oversave, not have these experiences. They get to a certain age and then they can't fucking spend the money, right? Because they can't consume the experiences, and so the time has passed, right? Like, there's a minimum amount of health for each activity you need to have, a physical ability, etc. And once it's gone forever. And so your choices of experiences start to decline. And so you get to 70 and you're sitting there on $200,000. Like, a lot of people think retirement's going to look like a fucking Carnival Cruise commercial. It doesn't look like that. Like, there's a couple years where you can move and then you're just like, I just want to fucking chill and watch Jeopardy. Is Game of Thrones on? Whatever. And that's what I tell people. I'm like, young people come to me like, oh, what should I do? How do you do all this stuff? Like, whatever. I was like, one, I don't watch TV. Like, especially alone. Do not watch TV. Like, if I'm with my girlfriend and we're going to watch something, that's an experience that we're having together. We're bonding and we can talk about it, etc. But I'm like, I'm not watching fucking TV alone. I can watch TV every single episode from 65, 70 when I can't fucking move and get the enjoyment, etc. This is not the time for me to be watching TV. This is the time for me doing X, Y, Z, blah, 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 other activities, etc. that I enjoy. TV is at end of life. You know what I mean? Like tapioca pudding. I'm not eating tapioca pudding. I'll eat that when I'm old and I have no teeth. You know what I mean? Like, stuff like that. And so, that's what I've been thinking about. Things like that.
Those are the kind of things you've been thinking about, huh?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Interesting
Interesting as always. My Pamela Maldonado chat says, as someone with older parents, they aren't delaying gratification. They save because the cost of medical expenses are so high in the USA.
Yeah, I've heard that argument. And the bottom line is that, there's copay, stuff like that. But people, even when you're saving for medical expenses, you can't save enough. Like, my dad at the end of the life, right? We had like a really difficult decision. Like, my dad was like, he had a stroke. It was a point where it was like, pull the plug. My brother was like, no, whatever. Somehow, miraculously, like, the blood drained out of his brain. He was like looking around, etc. And like, his insurance ran out, and it was like $50,000 a day without the insurance for him to stay in that facility. And I was like, Tia, if he doesn't get on this like supplemental insurance, like, I can't keep doing this. Like, 50K a day is like, I have limited funds too. I have kids that, I can't, my dad, his quality of life, etc. Luckily, or not luckily, depending on what he was suffering and feeling at the time, he didn't say. So what I tell people, like, is you can't save enough. Like, if you get X calamity to happen in medical care, besides like aspirin or pills or whatever, like, I understand, like, you're gonna want to have a certain amount of money for your pills that you have to pay, etc. But either your insurance or the government is going to pay, or you're going to die. You can't save enough, right? Like, you think you're going to save enough money for cancer treatment? You're crazy. It's just not happening. Like, if you think you're going to save for like the hospital bed at the end of your life, you're crazy. It's not happening. Like, I tell people, like, I'd rather take that money, right, while I'm young. Like I tell them, like, this philosophy is the most effective treatment for life saving, more than any cancer treatment, more than anything, right? Because people will work 2, 3, 4 years of their life for an extra month at the end of their life. So they give up 4 years of their life for a month. Doesn't make sense, right? If I told you, like, hey, Joe, I want you to go to solitary prison for 3 years, but I'll give you one more extra life a year, whatever. It's like an easy decision, right? But that's what people are doing, economically on autopilot. They don't realize that, right? I'm like, I'll see you at the fucking grave. You know what I mean? My quality of life might be negative in the hospital trying to pay for stuff like that. And so they just wind up in that decision by default. In mass, right? I know somebody's going to come out with some sort of exception, like blah, 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 in this scenario, whatever, threaded the needle, it perfectly worked. But when you look at the data, right, people are wasting time now over saving for little time there. It's like negative yield. It's like reverse implied odds, whatever example you want to give, right? And it's the same thing, like I told, like, my in-laws at the time, they were like, oh, we don't want to spend the money, whatever, blah, 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 whatever. I'm like, Maggie, I'm just going to be honest with you. The money you have is not going to save your life. You're going to fucking die. So just enjoy life right now. Like, you know what I mean? You're like, it's like, you're like, oh, we don't want to go trip. We have to save for this medical care, whatever. I'm like, listen, dude, the $10,000 or $20,000, $40,000, $100,000, it's not going to save your life. It's not going to prolong your life. You're just delusional. Like, it is way too expensive. It's $500,000. Basically, if you get some sort of calamity, you can look at the studies. There's all kinds of charts on this and data. It's like to basically prolong your life for about 6 months, maybe a year, is $1 million.
Wow.
Cancer, blah blah. You look at the drugs. Like I'm in one of the drugs, and we're like, why is it priced here? And it was like, well, here's the chart of all the medicines, right? And what your expected life will be, extension of your life will be, and here's the cost. It's like, $1 million, 6 months. I'm like, okay, that's what you're doing? You're saving up $1 million for 6 months of life and the lowest quality of life part, instead of taking that $1 million now and spending it with your loved ones, not inside a hospital, not hooked up to a ventilator, not whatever, doing all these things and living a full life and giving them that experience, but you want to give them 6 months of you in a bed with wires in you, etc. No. That's, to me, I mean, obviously, if you get to that point, that's the only decision you can make, but that's not something you would make ahead of time.
We're getting you fired up right now.
I'm fired up about this topic because
you're getting in a flow state right now.
Yeah, because I've been working.
We saw the first pod was 3 hours right here.
No, exactly.
I feel like I started. Yeah, it was like boom.
So okay. I've been on this, right, and like there's a culture in the United States and just kind of this thing which financial planners and financial advisors, their incentives are not aligned with. Like, you go to a financial planner, his job is to get you the maximum money. It's not like life advisor to get you maximum life, right? And so we wind up in these situations where you wind up in these people basically, I think, like wasting hours of their life, right? And so, some of the main questions and debates and talking with economists, like if people were rational, this is what they would do. But the people are not rational, or they're unaware, and this is where they wind up. And so you get a lot of backwards justification saying, well, I'm here, so this was rational. I was like, no, it's not a rational decision looking forward.
So if you're going to do a TED Talk, which I know we've talked about this before a little bit, and I said, are you going to give a TED Talk? You met Jimmy Carter, right?
Yes, that was awesome.
And that was something I remember that you really wanted to do, that you were kind of, scared.
Yeah,
or
talking to you
like
actually, like,
I know. I remember one day, I was like, bro, you got to meet Jimmy Carter. Like, what are you doing? You got it. I was like, got to do it.
Flew down, took my kids, went to church.
I was like, got to do it.
Heard him talk, whatever.
Okay,
met him.
Here's my challenge for you now. I think we need to give you a TED Talk. You got to give a TED Talk.
Let me write the book, because like it's like,
and with to go along with it, I think would work well. But even then, outside of its own. That would be my challenge for you.
Yeah, I mean, that would be my topic, right? Like, it's like a lot of time spending, like, going over it, writing a model. This model is, like, really opened my eyes on, like, even having the concept, dealing with this iterative model that goes back, looks at the summation of your life and, like, looks at, like, no model is perfect, right? But it goes in and tells you the magnitude of your total life enjoyment based on your old choices and, like, the things we have to consider, like the discrete nature of experiences, right? Like, at first iteration of model, we, like, put in all the concepts, ran it, and was like, okay. Then we looked at the model and, like, well, the model output's wrong because it's basically saying, you wind up with these interesting questions, right? Like, you could spend more money to get more experiences, right? So if the interest rates were greater than your health decline, it would just say, save the money and spend all money. Well, we know that's not true, right? Like, you can't be paralyzed in a hospital bed. It doesn't matter how much money you spend. You're not going to get the same experience level. And then we're like, oh, yeah, we have to take the model and make sure it's discrete. We have to have these discrete jumps because if you don't play football between these ages or whatever, football is gone to you forever. So then it forces you now to go back and spend on these type of activities earlier, and then it builds the curve, et cetera. And it also forces an ordering problem, right? It's like, if you want to play X hours of chess, X hours of whatever, blah, 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 it's like, well, you can play chess from here to here to here to here at this age. You can play chess up until 90, but you can't do X, Y, and Z. So you can't do it equal buckets, right? Because the let's say skiing gets chopped out at a certain age, whereas chess doesn't. So it forces you to front load skiing here.
A lot of prioritization, it sounds like.
Yeah. It does it at the same time.
I'm not doing a lot of prioritization right now in my life, so this is these are all topics and ideas that are very relevant to myself right here.
Well, society forces you to do it in certain ways, right? Like, it has an order, right? Like, you go to school, you go blah, blah, whatever. But, like, and it's your own personal choices. I don't tell people what to do, how to live. I'm just saying, like, whatever it is, it has an order, right? It's like, oh, I want to go travel and do the Himalayas, whatever. And it's like, well, you can't have 5 kids right now, right? Because then that's a dynamic decision. These dynamic decisions are ones that affect every single other decision after that, right? And so when you have a whole bunch of dynamic decisions in your life, the ordering is very important.
Anybody out there have a question? If anybody out there, Scott, you got a question?
Studio.
What's left on your bucket list, Bill? You done them all?
No, I'm nowhere.
The question was, what's left on Bill's bucket list?
Yeah.
Has he done? Has he done?
No, not at all. They're mostly travel related. I really I've made 3 attempts to go swim with whale sharks. Like, I really want to go swim with whale sharks.
Okay.
I don't know why. It's just these big, beautiful creatures, and to be, close to them.
Whale
in
sharks.
the ocean. Yeah.
How do you fail at attempting to swim with whale sharks? I don't understand.
Well, so we traveled, then there was like a hurricane that came into the Baja California. The areas where they went, either like there was some calamity, a tsunami, et cetera, that was like, can't go. You know what I mean? And then, other priorities come in and do it. But like, that's on it. But most of them are definitely travel related. Like, I get like huge FOMO. A friend of mine told me his brother just went like driving through Germany and here, and he stopped in this town, and then he was in Dusseldorf and blah, 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 and then et cetera. And I was just like, I never heard of these towns. This is awesome. I want to do this. I went to Barcelona, and I was going to a spa, and I was like going to fly. I was like, no, we got to drive. We have to drive through Spain. Like, that is the thing. So we got in a car, drove like 3-4 hours, found a lunch spot that was closed, but it was great because we drove on this other road, and it was like this random discovery, and it was like, it's like a very, very, it's like one of my fondest memories of last year, right, is this drive from Barcelona to the spa, and the random stuff, etc. And it was just like, it was great. And things like that. Like, my daughter had a life-threatening situation. I think it was this past year. She got airlifted from Aspen to Denver Children's. It was just like this crazy thing that happens. We were in hospital in Aspen, and it was really, heart rate was like 144, laying down. She had an infection that basically was spreading into the back of her eye and like back of the back eye sac, and they were about going to her brain. And every single antibiotic wasn't working. And I was like, well, why don't you go? The doctors there were like, they're not prepared. They called the Denver Children's, and they were like, they sent a charge to like, immediately, she's going there, right? And I was just like, they put her on a helicopter, they put her on a stretcher on the helicopter, and I was like, wow, this might be the last time I see my daughter. I was like, freaking the fuck out. I can almost cry right now. And so, I get in a plane, I fly to Denver Children's, whatever. They get in there, and they're just like, they're like the hospital for like the whole region. They're like, we see about 100 of these a month. She's going to have 2 surgeries right away. Boom, she's fine, et cetera. Right? So it was like, she went from like, she's going to die if not for the modern, the modern miracle of medicine in different children's, to like these guys are like, interns are coming in. Yep, she's got blah blah blah. We're gonna have this surgeon do this. We're gonna have this surgeon do this, and blah blah blah. 4 days later, she's ready to go. Kids are resilient, like and we decided like, let's drive from Denver to Houston. Like, see the country. So we load up. Instead of flying, we drove. And my other daughter was going to camp, and we were like trying to catch her. We missed it by like 30 minutes, getting on a bus. But that drive is like one of my fondest memories. Like going through and seeing this trail and Wild Bill. I was like, getting off on the side of roads like Wild Bill, Hillcock, whatever. This is the Indian Trail and yada yada yada. And it was great. Like it was like, like
Hillcock.
Whatever, Hillcock, yeah, whatever. Like,
what's the difference? Okay.
There's these historical towns and these small towns and the beautiful rolling plains of the United States of America, et cetera, and just kind of like driving or whatever. And it was just like a little random adventure. Like,
so more random adventures, would that be?
Yeah, I was like, I'll never get my kids like without them kicking and screaming to get in a car and drive cross country. Like, I was like, I got one like fairly like out of, you know what I mean? Like we're driving and we drove, and it was like, I have that for the rest of my life. You know what I mean? And so things like that, like travel related, meeting people.
More travel?
Travel. I think
maybe
travel is life.
Maybe this is one of my challenges for you instead. I mean, to give you some reminders once in a while. When I feel like when I'm not seeing much travel out of you, I'm like, hey, didn't you say you wanted to go to the forest in
there's all these
part of the
all
world?
these places. Like I'm always like tagging, like see on Instagram, like travel the world or blah blah blah, and I like tag Lara. I'm like, we got to go here, or we got to go see this, or whatever. So there's like I'm compiling a list. I mean, like for me, like if you think about it, right, all your enjoyment comes from your ability to move, right? The fundamental level is the neurons moving and firing in your brain, which fire your muscles to allow you to move from here to here. Without movement, there's no enjoyment, right? You're an energy processing machine, right? There's machines that consume fuel. We consume food. They're both fuels, right? And we convert it into movement. And that movement is all our enjoyment. And so for me, from that micro level, understanding like, the fact that you are an animate object and can move is all your enjoyment. So for me, the logical conclusion is the more movement, the more enjoyment, right? And that's travel, right? And that's going to meeting people, whatever. Like, and so, when you're young, like the movement is sex, you know what I mean? Like that's my enjoyment, right? Like, the more movement of sex, right? But, in generally, like movement is life. You know what I mean? Movement is whatever, and that is travel. And so, like,
movement's sex when you're younger, though.
Yeah,
so
that's the only movement.
It goes from sex.
Your brain
to
is
travel.
like sex. But like, your enjoyment comes from
Jonah. Jay.
Your ability.
So it's fine if Jonah's 23 and this is what he thinks about often, right?
I mean, like, I've never
give him some reassurance out there.
Yeah, it is.
What would your advice be to a guy who's 23 years old who is just constantly thinking about women and on the prowl?
Yeah, I was told this at a young age.
It's the truth. It is what it is.
I remember when I was in college and I was like trying to get the sales job or whatever, and she's like, most men don't become successful until they can like move that sex drive to the side, like late in their 30s, right? Is because it just takes up so much of your time. And I remember that feeling, that great glorious feeling from long ago, where that was it. Like every decision was somehow related. Like I would be asleep at like 3 a.m. in the dorms, and like dude call, be like, "What, dude? Sleep? Yo, there's a party. So what? Yo, there's gonna be girls there. I'll be there in 5 minutes. Click." You know what I mean? Like it just was everything. Like every decision made it, and then, as that went away to get those hours of focus back to do other things, it comes to. But like, if that's your time and that's what you want, you enjoy. I'm not going to pass judgment on what you want or what's better for you or not. I'm just, just be aware that that time you're focusing on takes away from other opportunities. And if you still make that choice, that's fine. And some of that choice is like innate, right? Mm-hmm. There's 6 billion of us or 7 billion of us because of that. Mm. If it wasn't there, it'd be like, a couple 100,000.
Yeah. You said you have a question too?
Yeah, so with regard to all your achievements through your life, how much did you actually plan everything that's happened? Did you sit down age 20 and think, right, by this age I want to do this? Do you have like a life plan, and are you off plan right now?
So the question was, how much of your life achievements did you actually plan out? And when you were 20, did you sit down and say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that?
I mean, it's a lot of pot luck. I think when I got put in a situation, there was a plan, but that situation was very lucky, right? Like, I was in engineering school, and my godfather was like, he's like, "What do you want to do?" And I saw like trading places, like, "I want to be a trader. I want to work on Wall Street." He was like, I don't know, but I know this commodities firm. I didn't know what a commodity was, right? Like, what the fuck is commodities? But I know this commodities firm. Looking for, you screen clerk or whatever. Go talk to this person in an interview. I came down. I saw all these people yelling and screaming on the floor. It was crazy. And I was like, oh my gosh, I fucking love this place. Like, what the hell is going on here? If these guys can be rich, so can I. Right? Because I just want to be rich, right? Like, that's all you think. Is I want to be rich. I didn't know what rich was or what it afforded me. I just knew I just wanted to do what I could want or whatever. And so I didn't get the job right away. I stayed there for 3 days, kept calling because they wanted to give the job to somebody else. But I kind of like did the stalking thing, whatever, like, yay, I have it in. You gotta hire me.
A common thing for you, stalking.
Yeah.
Okay,
stalking the job, and then I got in as like a peon, third assistant peon in this place, and then in that situation, it was like, I want X. This is my plan, right? And so I got put in a spot, and this is my plan, and I want to do my best. And so it's kind of like a poker person who gets thrown into poker. They're like, okay, now my plan is to be the best poker player, right? And so that was kind of how it happened, and it wasn't till later where, not that much later, where I was like, okay, I knew I wanted to get married at a certain age. I knew I wanted kids. I knew I wanted X. I knew I wanted them to have these abilities, whatever. So there was kind of this loose, long 10-year plan and all these other plans. It was always flexible and dynamic, but it was kind of like the guardrails on the roller coaster. You know what I mean? Like, keep me on this, here we go, here. But, like, this is kind of where I want to be on this ride.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now you have a plan now?
Yeah.
No
I don't
plan.
know.
Still deciding. Still deciding the
it's
plan.
really, like, I'm trying to, like, open it up. Like I've spent all my life getting to a point where it's easier for me to facilitate movement and travel and do the things I want and solve problems. And so now it's like, okay, I want to be charitable. I want to help people. I want to get, some of these messages out, which I think are more leverage than just me cutting a dollar, right? Like, it's way more leverage. Like, if I give you a concept or an idea, like if I got like 20 people to not shame themselves, that would be bigger than any amount of money I can give, because the ripple effect of those people going out in the world and the relationships they have, et cetera.
Well,
is huge.
I know you've had that impact, because I'm sure you hear people about when you come on the podcast and things they've heard in the past. And I've heard things all the time still now from people. They
honestly
tell me things they've learned.
The most gratifying thing. I mean, I have random people come up and like, you changed my, my life for the better or whatever, and it's just like the most gratifying thing, and it's really great. But for me, I'm kind of revisiting the impacts I want to have on the world and other people, and the things I want to experience, and then finding that balance. So for me, I'm just kind of move forward and get there and get the courage to do some of the things that I want to do.
Yeah. Mitch Guy in the question says, Bill, I'm 22 with 4% vision remaining, with a high likelihood it'll go in the near to late future. If you were in my shoes, would you focus on your career or try to get the most experiences you can?
Ooh, I mean, for me, this is just me.
Wow.
I mean, your career is there. Like, this is what I tell. Like, I talk to like people who have careers, people who have been successful, and I tell this anything. The purpose of your career, for most people, is to get money to do other stuff, right? Like, I went into trading, like, yeah, it's a great job, it's fun, but it's not like I said, hey, I want to fucking trade for the rest of my life. Like, it's not. Nobody says I want to be like, a interest rate bond salesman. That's just like the greatest thing in the world. I just want to do interest rates and bonds, right? Like, I want to, it can be fun, and there's aspects of it that they love, but that's not why they did it. They went into their career to get the money to do the shit they want to do, right? So I'm like, if you can shortcut that and do the shit you want to do, I would just do the shit I want to do, right? And so, yeah, you have an interesting, if I was in the spot, I would like, yeah, I have an interesting spot, right? Like, I'm not really shortcutting. I'm shortcutting for a different reason. I'm shortcutting it because my ability to enjoy some of these experiences is going to diminish completely. So for me, it would be a very easy decision. Like
Enjoy
I'm
experiences.
enjoy experiences, right?
Yeah.
Like because that's why the career is there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I went in trading to get the money, right? Like people come into poker, like they like poker. There's interesting puzzle facts about it. There's a benefit to this field of poker that we all love, right? But the pros here are here to get the money, right? And they're getting the money to do the other shit that they want to do.
Jeff Gross here to get the money for sure.
Here to let's get this bread, kid.
Jeff Gross ready to get after
we
it
got
over
Jeff
here
Gross.
for sure. Look at him, hungry man over there too, man. He's got big J tendency going on with money.
And so this whole book thing I'm writing about is like that's basically one of the principles.
When's
right?
the book coming out? When do we have an ETA for the? I feel like you've been working
October
on the book
19th.
since.
October 19th. It's a lot. Like you go back, you
sure.
have your tone, you're working with your economist. You have to balance it between. Do I want a very technical book, like that an economist would write about like the utility of money and experiences and blah blah blah, which I don't because people are like what the fuck, or do I want like a very anecdotal story example book where people are like this book is too touchy feely. You know what I mean? Like. And I'm very passionate about it, so I'm trying to strike that balance, and it's really hard to get into it. It's like how many graphs, charts, and formulas do I want in here versus how many like, hey, buddy, here's 3 things. You know what I mean? Like, you're gonna die, you're gonna deteriorate, the utility of money and the experiences decreases with time, so therefore you want to do it, and then have examples. And so like that's what I've been kind of focused on and thinking about. And so in this guy's example. You know what I mean? Careers are there to get money to do stuff. Later on you're not going to do stuff, so just do the stuff now.
Yeah. This one question, I wrote a couple questions down here that I wanted to ask that I know I always see out there that from people, and I wanted to get your take on the question. One big question I always see all the time was more focused on mental health these days in terms of people being more open about the idea of being depressed and dealing with depression. And from your perspective, how do you feel like people can approach the idea of getting over being depressed or dealing with their own depression that they might have?
I mean, I've felt depressed in my life, etc. I don't know how, there's a chemical aspect to it, right? That's just way outside my area of expertise. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I'm sure whatever external events happened to cause me to be depressed, it has a chemical aspect of it, but it was more like a situational thing, right? Mm-hmm. Like, so I can't really talk to like the medical aspect, like, wow, my serotonin, whatever dopamine levels are out of whack, and therefore I'm always depressed. But I have been in situations where I'm just like, oh fuck. I think like I was just talking to Stephanie, my ex-wife. She says the kids were telling me about when. They were reminiscing about when I lived in the house when we divorced on St. Thomas, and you said Dad was so sad then, like for months and months. And I was like, I was really, really sad. I was depressed, right? Like I just had one of the biggest, most epic failures of my entire life. One of the biggest dynamic decisions I'm ever going to make. Like getting divorced is a dynamic decision. It changes every other thing you're going to do for the rest of your life. Like all kinds of things are going to happen for it. Same thing with getting married, having kids, etc. But for me, it was a big negative. Like how I define myself, the things I do. I turn around. There used to be a person there all the time, whether it was a fight or not, and like that there was some comfort to that. And I was like, fucked up. You know what I mean? Like really fucked up. But having to like go to work and do things and get out or whatever. And so for me at that time, it was a lot of forcing myself to be outward focused and forcing myself to get out there and meet people and do stuff. Mm-hmm. Like to find the new me and the new definitions and meet people, whatever. And so I don't think I add that much value on this question, whatever. I could just tell you what my experience is.
I think from my own experience thinking about it, it has a lot to do with the people I'm surrounding myself with and the conversations I'm having, and most of the time it's me being isolated a lot too, and sort of keeping myself not really expressing how I feel or what I'm going through, and keeping that all internalized. And then once I start finding people I can share that with, then I feel like I start to gain more perspective on myself and get better at that situation.
That helped. Like it's hard to be depressed when you're talking to somebody, you're meeting them, and they're asking questions and whatever go on or whatever. Like in the back of your head, the thing that was bad will go on, but it starts to go away. I remember like I was divorced. And I went to like a checkup in Miami for like the hospital health, whatever. And it was just like brutal It was like emergency contact. I was like, oh, like what the fuck am I putting now? You know what I mean? Like what am I gonna do? And you're like putting your assistant down as your emergency contact, and it was just really, really hurt me. And like the loneliness that I felt at that time, it was just like really pierced my soul. And so I was like, one of the pieces of advice I got at the time is like, look, go out on dates, meet with your friends, whatever. You don't have to have sex, whatever. Just go out and meet people. And I went on like 3 dates a day. Like I would have a lunch meeting, a breakfast. I would Tinder up, but it wasn't like Tinder just as like the sport fucking thing. It was like I was meeting like all kinds of interesting, dynamic people. And so not only was I learning what I liked and not liked, right? I was also learning like, who I was and what I wanted to be by meeting these people and getting out there. And that really, really helped me. So that whole thing of like that social interaction and talking to people and being vulnerable with like practical strangers and just getting different perspectives of life kind of took me out of my whole woe is me inner focus. I fucked up this grand thing, this grand vision, right? Like, one day we were in front of a pastor. I love you, whatever. I'm like, how did we get from here to fucking here? You know what I mean? Like, how did I fuck that up? You know what I mean? Like, it was just brutal. And so getting over that and was definitely a people thing and getting out and meeting or whatever and other things and just time, like
It's time.
you're getting perspective. I am not a depression expert. There is depression is also a chemical thing and imbalance or whatever. So I just want to tell you, like, I don't want to even disrespect depression by calling it depression.
Right.
You know what I mean? But I will call it was like a very, very, very dark time for me.
Interesting.
Emotionally.
Interesting. I feel like I gotta get some shout outs. I haven't get the chat any shout outs on my YouTube. I can't neglect the YouTube. Who do we got out there, man? Gus Carlson, what's up, Gus? Theo Goulius, I don't know how to say these names. Mario Arias Jr., what's up, Mario?
What's up, Mario?
Poker Sasha in the chat, doing the hard work over there. She's on the grind. She is one of the top moderators in the entire world when it comes to Kim Jong. Sasha in the chat, she's been banning people, hiding people, working hard, channeling her inner North Korea. Kim Jong Joey over here, I like that. My guy Harbs is in the chat, not doing a good job as a moderator. Of course, Harbs, you gotta step it up, brother. Come on, man, get your stuff together out there. I mean, I see people out here. We got all kind of people coming in, coming out. I remember, we got Lance Bradley back there in the chat. Who else we got, man? We got Val right there. Listen, we got Gary Gates right there too.
Gary Gates, you're the master of the shout out.
I'm master
not
of
so
shout
good at
out.
it. I'm
good. I just like hype people up.
Yeah, exactly.
Whenever I introduce people, I always give you like Big J, if I was gonna take you to introduce you to someone said, "Oh, who's this?" I go, "Listen, give me 3 minutes, okay? Let me break this down. Let me break this down."
Your intro was like, I was like, well, who is this guy? I was like, is that me? I'm like, who are you talking about?
I just like hyping people up, especially my friends. You want to give. I tell them like best videographer in the world, like Sasha, one of the best Pop Omaha players in the world, except against me, of course. She's not gonna be able to take me down. There's not a chance in a heads up match.
I feel you.
She would never be able.
Ever.
Okay, chill. Yeah, she doesn't quite believe that. So, but I feel like that's something I like to do. You know what I mean? That's something I like to pump people up, get them excited, and showcase the the best part of their abilities and the best part of who they are as a person, kind of thing like that. So
I like that.
You have let me see if we got any more questions in the chat. Any more questions out here in the live chat? Lance, you got one?
How do you define success now versus how you defined it when you were 21, 22 years old?
Oh,
All right, so
wow.
Question Lance Bradley was, how do you define success now versus how do you define success when you were 21 or 22 years old?
Okay, so when I was 21 and 22, I think my definition of success was like a rap fucking song. It was like women and money. You know what I mean? It was like, it was like NWA. You know what I mean? Like, where the bitches at? So that was easy. Like I had, it's like women and money. And now, I define success as more like my impact on others around me and my legacy and ripple and living being myself. So my own personal success is, am I more authentic in doing the things I want to do to the extent and I'm at 100%, it's like maximum success. And that authenticity, and you just never really get it. I never get the full authentic me, like, because I'm always holding back in some way, right? My ego is just like, you can't do that. You know what I mean? You can't just quit your job and go into media production and do this or whatever and make movies and start a new career. You're going to look like an idiot and blah, blah, blah. So something's always fucking holding me back in taking me back and being authentic. And so that being authentic and my impact is my success now. And before it was, life ain't nothing but, the lyric from MWA. It's like it's money and money and sex. And so that has changed. That has changed from 21.
Okay. I don't want to.
What?
I would follow up on that, but I don't want to
can.
get too. I don't want to get too into that.
You can.
I can't. I can't. I mean, I can relate to that idea.
You can relate to that idea?
I can relate to that idea a lot, especially.
You're very successful? Is that what you're trying
No.
to say?
I can talk about that here right now. Okay.
You're a very successful man.
Oh wait,
in the 21-year-old sphere,
Technically, I can talk about it now, actually, but no, I can't. Let me. Anybody else got a question out there? Oh, Jonah, what do you got?
Jonah.
What do you got, man? Make sure it's actually relevant to what your current struggles and/or mindset is.
No,
Because
let him have his question.
I've heard a lot about it.
I'll try.
Okay.
What's one thing you would recommend to anyone, I guess, to myself, to learn that I think you think most people would overlook? So whether it's a skill you think it's important to have, or something specific that you think is
I'm gonna try to relay that question.
worthwhile investing time in learning.
Oh wow.
That's some time to think.
I offer bonuses to my I'll go very technical, detailed, and I'll try and go broad. For my kids, I offer them bonuses to go into coding and programming. I'm like, if you do, I will give you whatever if you get into programming, or you join the programming club or whatever, or stuff like that. And I think the programming software revolution thing is in the third inning. Right, and it's just everything I do, I need a programmer, right? Web design, a program, write C code, etc. Scrape these websites and pull this data, blah blah blah. I mean, it's just programming is part of everything we do. My analyst in trading is programming, so that's very very technical. I wish I was a programmer, I can write a quick program and kick it out, right? And when we have great ones, it's oh wow, a guy just writes a quick program and it does all kinds of stuff, right? I look at data, there's so many. I'll give you an example. The government puts out contracts and bids all the time, right? And their website, they just post them on the websites. We have RFP for this, or garbage collection, or solar panels, or 50,000 forks, or whatever, right? And it's you can't click through. And I tell my guy, write a program, scrape all these things, put it in a chart so we can easily see it, right? And it's if you're a programmer and you can do this, whatever, you have a leg up on everybody, right? And massing data and stuff like that. There's so many different ways that it applies to your life. I have this supercomputer in my pocket, right? I basically use it to look at Instagram, some trading, Instagram trading and whatever, but I don't use the full powers, right? I can launch a satellite with this thing, right? But if I was, I don't use its full abilities, right? The most I've done, even though I went to engineering school, et cetera, and I should be able to do it, is written in Excel macro. All right, so that's kind of technical. When I tell people, if I could do it all over again, I'd be I would into programming and coder. Those guys are the real ballers, right? You know what I mean? Doing interesting things and solving problems with software and deep learning.
But don't you feel the programmers want to get out of the house more? Because when you're programming on the computer all the time, and a lot of programmers I know.
Yeah, I'm trading a lot. You do the career because it's fun. You get the money. You get the money. You get to do the stuff, right?
Okay. So you don't think that holds you back? You think you still do both?
I still do both. You know what I mean? But it's just, I think it's hot field, right? If I was going to go in there, I think it's just going to keep going on. PokerStars is a program. The software, everybody talks about the software. Is the software good or not? Does it suck? How come it is? I mean, I'm actually going to complain to PokerStars right now. You PokerStars people out there.
Careful, it might cut the stream off.
I've been asking forever for people who watch my Thirst channel, right? I battle wizards in high cash games, and one of the rules we do when we play is winners must show, right? Winners must show the cards. It makes it interesting for the audience, and it drives engagement, etc. And so we set a rule to winners must show, but it's so hard. The software runs so fast, we can't click the button or whatever. And I was hey, PokerStars, for the past 2 fucking years, I've been asking them. I'm hey, can you have a table or room where it says winners must show? They're yeah, blah, yeah, we're gonna do it, whatever, fine, whatever. It's gonna happen. I'm what the fuck? So Programmers. There you go. It hasn't happened yet. So maybe, in 2022, they'll have tables where it's like the rule is winners must show, and it auto shows the winner's hands. Who knows?
Well, maybe they might have heard it louder this time, huh?
They might have heard it louder. I don't know. They might be in the room.
maybe
They might be listening.
Maybe the message gets relayed.
Actually, let's Twitch clip this one and get a retweet. I'm gonna run a retweet contest on this one.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Is there anything else you'd like?
Yeah,
to
we're gonna get a retweet contest on it. We're gonna random draw. We're gonna give a World Series of Poker package so we can get this fucking word out. Winners must show to Poker Stars.
So
you know what I mean?
This is a very high priority on the
High
list for you of
priority.
what
The
you need to
Thirst
get
Lounge
done.
needs it. We're about to announce some Thirst Lounge winners.
We
They're gonna be doing
are,
stuff
right?
like that.
So I mean,
but wait, I'm not finished with this question.
Okay.
We're gonna do this, but
you excited?
I'm excited.
You're
hyped.
excited. Give it to me. Go
Dude,
ahead.
I'm super hyped.
Finish that thought.
I'm super hyped.
Finish that thought.
But the other thing to learn,
There's a two-part question there. Okay?
yeah.
You were so fired up about the winners must show button. I mean,
Winners must show
listen,
button.
hey.
We went on a super tangent.
I got some requests. If we're talking about what you'd like to see from the online PokerStar site, I got some requests too. But we'll save that for another time.
Yeah, we'll
right now.
beat up PokerStars later.
No, we'll save that for another time. Right now.
Gosh, what I learned. It's really gonna sound super touchy feely, but
I definitely got some requests. That's for sure.
I would really say learning about yourself and holding yourself accountable without shaming yourself and doing your best. I always recommend people what book do you recommend? I have trading books or whatever, but I'm like the number one impact on me is the 4 Agreements. And learning about yourself and doing your best in these things. That book at an earlier age would have really set me on a much more glorious, enjoyable path. Mm-hmm. And so if you're of the belief that you are the master of your own destiny and that you have a choice, right, then you need to master yourself, right? If you just believe it's all random and you have no control or whatever, then there's whatever. You know what I mean? You don't have to do anything. I have the religious belief that you do have a choice, right? You do have this supernatural ability called choice. And so that means that your journey in your life, you are responsible and you are accountable for to navigate this minefield called life. And so learning to master yourself and the buttons and tick and what happens, that's the number one thing because you're the master of your own destiny. Now, for the people out there, you have no real choice, then, whatever. Learn whatever you want, but that would be my two things. I get in these debates with Kate and Twitter.
Kate Hall?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because she's very much.
She loves debating.
Well, she's very much in the camp that you have no choice, right? She would take a very physics view of it, is that you are atoms in motion and nothing you can do can change those atoms in motion. You have no real choice, right? So your station in life versus this person's station in life has nothing to do with your abilities. It has to do all with external circumstances, etc. None of your choices really matter, right? And so it's really at the heart of it a philosophical question, right? Is do you have the ability to choose or do you not? And it's really a religious question, and it's because it's supernatural. The ability to choose is a supernatural thing. Right? And so I believe in the supernatural because I believe humans, a bunch of atoms, which you are, have a choice. How can a bunch of atoms have choice? They can't. It doesn't matter how you configure them. You can configure them into a rock or you can configure them into a human. But how does the human have choice? It must be something supernatural. And so I believe that.
You guys enjoying the podcast out there?
Yeah.
The live
You're just
audio?
what the hell is he talking about? Joe, you gave me one of his faces.
I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be in terms of where I go in my head game tree when the topic of atoms and Kate Hall get brought into discussion. I don't, Kate Hall's the King Kate, but I'm just going to move on to well, you did mention me. I personally have atoms in me and I have choices. And now from you knowing me for a little bit, and you mentioned you spend a lot of time on Instagram and you sort of see some of the stuff I do. What would be some of your advice you'd give to me, because you kind of can see the path that I'm going on in terms of maybe where, what my life's looking like. What would be one of your number one pieces of advice for myself personally in terms of me approaching my life in a maybe a little bit more optimal, in-line way instead of a very, very, very out of line approach?
Well, it looks like this is me on the outside looking. So really,
Right,
at
that's
the
what
end
I'm-
of the day,
that's what- this is what I'm
at the end of the
curious
day,
about.
I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about because
Right.
it's you and what you want. But I would say like you're kind of like wee, you know what I mean, in a way. But which is great, like but I question sometimes how authentic you are in that we.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I look at it, I'm like, yeah, you're having fun or whatever, but like I think at times you're like, you're really questioning like, am I doing what I want to do, or am I doing what people expect me to do, or what I think I'm supposed to do? Mm-hmm. Right? And those, I think we all wind up in those spots. Like, I'm like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to get married, have 2 kids, blah, 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 blah. I've been culturalized to believe this, right? And I think, you've been culturalized to believe, like, I'm a young guy, I'm supposed to be in the club, I'm supposed to be out late, I'm supposed to be doing anything, so I'm doing it. And there's some fun aspect to it. But I don't know if you authentically always believe that. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you're taking the, it's also entertaining to the people who see this, right? Like,
Sure, yeah.
It's not fun unless somebody else saw it on Instagram. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it did it really happen if you didn't share it? And so, I think there's a certain aspect of that. So I would like challenge you to really like, think about, meditate on like, what are the experiences you really want to have authentically, if nobody else could see it?
Mm-hmm. I'd go to the club every night.
Then do it.
I love dancing, but no, I think
you like dancing.
No, but I just love dancing. I love going out. I love hanging out with my friends, having a good time, and a lot of my friends all like go out and have a good time too. So, but I do agree that I certainly, like I was saying, a lot of things I've been studying and reading and learning this past year, I don't talk about at all. Like I don't post much about it. They're certainly not in my content. I haven't been studying poker the past year. Everything I've been studying and thinking about and learning is not really what I put into anything I do, and that's because kind of the idea of fear or sharing that, or and when you think about the authenticness of it, it's certainly do go back and forth on what I want to be about or who I want to be in terms of from that aspect publicly or content wise and things like that. So that's certainly something I have been struggling with, questioning, because my audience is all poker and they expect poker related stuff. Well, if I start talking about not poker related stuff, well then what happens with that situation and how is that perceived and those sort of thing like that. So I definitely, it's interesting that you were able to gauge that from what you follow on there too. And in terms of, I feel like the things that I share on Instagram, I think that would I share those I'd share them to my friends for sure, but I'd probably share a lot more because I don't think I share a lot on Instagram right now specifically, but that's like a place I'm on a lot. You're on a place on a lot too. Like we're on there a bunch just because it's part of our life kind of right now. And I always think about this kind of question kind of thing. Like, what do I want to do? Who do I want to portray myself as? Who am I who am I? And are those things actually aligned or are they different? And I think right now they are a little different in terms of those things. And that's just because, I don't know. It's just I've changed a lot in the past 2 years, especially since talking with you the first time on the podcast. Yeah.
I hear you saying basically I don't want to risk my poker audience for what I authentically want to do.
Yeah.
That's what I hear those words a little bit coming out, right? Like it's it's a big risk, right? Like if you wanted to talk about, I don't know, cooking, you know what I mean? Like, well, what the fuck? How am I going to go into cooking? This is my true love. But I got built up this poker audience. I've been doing this for a while. Am I just going to like pitch it away for this cooking dream? I don't know what it. I'm just using that as an example.
That's a similar thing.
It's a
similar idea. Yeah,
a similar idea. And so like, you have this platform that people are enjoying it, and you developed a relationship. Like one of the things, like when running the Thirst Lounge, and doing it, like Jeff kind of got me into it, is I enjoyed it. Like there's a sense of community. Like people like.
Well, that's what I love about poker. It's like it is. You come down here. We're doing the podcast here. Like I walk around. I know everybody here. We're stopping in the hallway every 10 seconds, having conversations about things like that. So the idea of maybe giving that up to pursue something else that does not have a community aspect to it. Like I was making MMA videos, and you, for some reason, you decided to make some freaking image of me. I'm like, what is Perkins doing in his free time where he's making a meme of me turning my back on poker for the UFC? But and that's what I noticed when I was making those MMA videos. They crushed it, but there was the community in terms of like the people that were commenting was all toxic. So that's why I stopped making those, because I was like, where's the sense of, it's just me sort of making these videos and then like people looking from afar sort of like saying, oh, I wonder how successful they'll be. But I didn't feel that sense of community, and I felt like if I kept going down that way, then it'd be abandoning that more and more and more and more. So that's why I stopped doing that kind of content, actually. That's a big reason why.
You just, like I said, life is discovery. That's something you discovered.
Yeah.
And it either works for you or it doesn't work, right? Like, and that's going to be I would advise like that be your yardstick, right? That's what you measure. Work doesn't work. Mm-hmm. You know,
Just kind of try things, figure it out, see what works, see what doesn't. Take some risks.
You're discovering, you take.
Well,
some
that's the
risks.
thing I learned from you. Take like fear and risks. Like I certainly don't take any risks anymore. I'm pretty conservative in terms of my entire approach to life and how I approach people and how I approach opportunity and situations. Like I got an offer to go to Rio here, coming up here in March from another rival poker company, and I'm like, why do I go to Rio? Like I'm gonna fucking die. You know, they're gonna kill me, and I'm gonna hang me out there to dry and stuff like that. And sure, that's some stereotypes I have in my mind, but it's things you read about, and that's what you're taught sometimes as an American. Like you should be so scared to go to these places, and I feel like I get a lot of opportunity and offers and places to go places, but I just don't want to take that risk and get outside my comfort zone a lot of times. And I feel like that's something I've personally fallen into. Is just.
Well, have you attempted to quantify it? Like I have a friend that says motorcycle. Mm-hmm. He uses everything versus driving a motorcycle. He says, I like riding a motorcycle, but the risk is too great. And I would really love to ride a motorcycle, but it's too great. So like the odds of dying on a motorcycle or something is like 1 in 10,000 or something like that. He says, so anything less than motorcycle I won't do, and above I will do it. So if it's 1 in 12,000 and I enjoy it, I'll go do it. Mm-hmm. So like maybe you should have like a quantification of it, right?
Put math to it, put the numbers to it.
Yeah,
like,
just have your scale. Like, okay, flying in a plane, I like traveling and blah blah blah. The risk of me dying is X, blah blah blah, and then like find out where the break point is, and then equate it, and then be like, okay, the odds of me dying going to Rio is less than the motorcycle. I still ride a motorcycle, so I'm gonna go to Rio. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I guess this should be my challenge for the year is to take a little more risk and because I feel like I have all the opportunity I'd ever want right now in terms of what I could do with myself or my direction or people I can meet or any relationships or work or anything like that.
Even if you didn't take more risks, if you were rational about analyzing it, it would seem like you were taking more risk. Mm. You see what I'm saying?
A little bit. Give me like an example.
People will misjudge what is risky, like the odds of X, Y, and Z. It's like they won't wear their seatbelt, but they're scared of flying. That type of thing, right? Mm-hmm. Like, and so like, they'll smoke cigarettes or do X, Y, and Z. And so like, if you had like a chart of the things you wanted to do and you had the actual odds, right, of the risk and the damage associated with it, then you'd be like, wait a minute, I'm not doing this because I think it's too risky, but really it's up here. Like, it's like I got a better chance of getting struck by lightning. And so these activities, when you order them correctly according to their risks, you'd put them in the I'll do this shit bucket, right? Like, I'm pretty sure you've been out there wrong, unprotected.
Me?
Yeah.
In some ways, maybe, yeah.
Yeah. And so, like, you had this one night stand and you played Russian roulette with your life. And, and then you're like, he's like laughing over here.
Really, me. I'm not. I'm not about that life.
Not anymore. But like you have, and
I was young.
And he's I've done it,
sure.
and like, and I feel
Triple B, BBB.
Yeah, and then so like, and he's done it, and like like when you look at those odds, you're like, well, I'm worried about dying in Reno, and I'm like, well, the odds of some of these other things are the same, and you just weigh that risk reward properly. I think the appearance of taking more risk.
Right. So in my mind, it's risky now, but when you actually look at it from a different perspective, you realize it's not really that risky.
Yeah, like, it's kind of like that quantified self movement. Like, let's try and quantify everything so we can make the proper relative decisions, right? Mm-hmm. Like, this is the whole book, right? Like, I'm not telling people how to live. I'm just telling you, like, if you want to be optimal, we got to quantify these things and then have this proper curve. So, like, you should, like, do your best to try and quantify these risks so that you're not, like, passing up opportunities that are not that necessarily, they're not outside your risk tolerance, right? Because you have a risk tolerance, right? And these things may be inside your risk tolerance.
Interesting. Sasha's in the chat. She said, I guess I'm the only one registered for the 10K PLO. Is that true, Sasha? You're the only one registered for the 10K PLO? No one else registered for the $10,000 Platinum event?
Us three, we go 3 ways.
Yeah, you won.
You want to play heads up? You want me to hop in versus you? Will they start it with me versus you? I got to talk to them.
Yeah.
What if
awesome.
we played heads up and we got to stream for this match?
Let's do it.
You want to do it?
Yeah, let's do it.
I'll destroy you.
I
would crush you. Listen,
Joy, what happened when we play? I usually crush you.
technically I'm up $73 in our heads up match, but that's neither here nor there. Calm down over there, Sasha, okay?
You, me, and Bill.
Me, you, and Bill. Oh, now you want. Okay, I see.
All in.
Man, you're risky here. Okay, so I guess we could talk about the Thirst Lounge, right? So I see Jeff over here. Jeff's furiously working away over there. He's got the nice book bag over there. Very
Jeff,
black. I
you know.
like it, man. He's looking good over there, Jeff, man.
Jeff's always dialed
nice
in.
shoes, man. Ready to get after it. So, okay, Thirst Lounge,
Jeff-
right? So you've been having these contests for people been submitting videos to be a Thirst Lounge host. So they're going to maybe be down in St. Thomas. Maybe they're going to do it remotely from location. They're going to have some affiliation with you. There'll be a brand. There'll be a team. And actually, so it turns out you had 15 finalists, but it's not going to be one person. It'll be more than one person, correct? It'll be 10 people. So you chose 10 people from the finalist list. And are you guys going to announce the winners?
Yeah.
are?
So let's just give it like a little bit of background on what's going on, why we're doing this.
Explain to people out there, yeah.
So to people who have watched the channel, the Thirst Lounge channel, it's kind of like this lifestyle brand poker show where I get on, play poker from the boat, and chat and talk. And so, you got to be consistent if you're going to be streamer, right? Like, people invest in you. They want to hear stories. They want to see you come back, right? I disappear for like 3 months traveling, doing all these other kind of things. And, I think like I was basically letting down my audience, right? Because they're like, hey, we've spent time. We're emotionally invested in this thing, this Thirst Lounge, like, where the hell are you?
We need that boat. We need that water.
Water. Just what's going on. It's like, if you disappear for 6 months, people are like, what the fuck, dude? Where's our stories? This is part of our routine. And so I decided I need a host. Right, I need somebody who can like take what we have. We got the editing, we got the boat, we got the background, we got the concept, etc., and run with it and bring people down and run the show. And I can come on occasionally, but my people are being entertained. Right, they're getting the value that they signed up for. And so I contacted Jamie and Jeff. Is like, I want to get a host, so let's run a contest to get a host. Like, we need somebody charismatic, kind of understands what the Thirst Lounge is about, can be entertaining, etc. So Jamie and Jeff had, graciously offered their time to run this like program to get it going, to get these hosts, and they got, they got a lot of great people. Like, it's. I'm so glad that they ran it and I didn't, because it's really hard to say no, right, to some of these people. Like,
from 1 to 10. So
yeah.
It did go from 1 to 10.
It went from 1 to 10, so the people right now, if you're watching it and you contest, there is going to be the Thirst Lounge 10. And
Thirst Lounge 10.
Yeah, and so
okay.
We experimented with the model, and it was like, well, streaming is a grind. Right, it's draining. Like, you got to get the equipment, the OBS software, you got to get everything up, you got to be on, you got to be in its time, etc. And it's draining. And so we're like, why have one person do this and put the burden of the whole channel on one person? And then we got all these great creators and people out there who bring different aspects of the game, right? Because if you get me, you get kind of like these dimensions, right? Like, if you get this person, you get these dimensions. If you get this person, you get these dimensions. And so we were like, why don't we add more people so we can get like almost like a network, right? Like the Tonight Show, where you get all these different people, and they'll bring in their own guests that they want to do, and really make it dynamic. And that's kind of what the Thirst Lounge is about, like different views, perspectives, lifestyle, travel, real life, poker, other games, etc. And we're like, Jeff was like one of the big proponents. He's like, look, you can have people come down and they can travel, they can stream remote as part of Team Thirst Lounge. So we're like, let's make Team Thirst Lounge. And so we got a team.
I saw.
We put together a little video.
Very
Jeff
nice,
and Jamie.
Very nice video.
I'm going to thank Jeff and Jamie for going through this. I want to thank everybody who
Applied.
Yeah. Jeff and Jamie were agonizing on getting it down to 10, right? Like, at first when we get it 2, it's like, this is impossible, right? It's impossible. We have to change the model. And I think it's the right model right now. We're kind of winging it. You know what I mean? We're like, we got
trial and error.
Yeah, we're winging it, and it's fun, and I'm really, really excited because there's these.
Are there perks to the 10? Do they get like a access line to the BP hotline?
They got the BP hotline. They can definitely be on. Like, we can have team
hotline.
We can have team meetings. We got to go over like schedules and getting it on, and like what we're gonna do and what the vision is and how we're gonna get it going. They get a staking deal too.
What?
Yeah, they get.
Oh my God.
They get a 10K stake.
What?
Yeah.
Do they know that?
Yeah, they know that.
Okay, I was like, wait a second, because I know some of the people who applied. I don't know if they knew that or not. I haven't heard this.
Well, maybe for some of the people that wasn't really important to them, right? Like they just want to like.
Well, I
get
know
into the streaming
I know
world.
a couple of people on that list that one are going to be important to them. So trust me. That
Yeah. I mean, it's part of the value. Like I it's not like this paid position, right? Like it's a big experiment, and I'm using basically existing infrastructure that I have. Like I have a boat. You know what I mean? I have a place to get kits. I have a full-time video editor. I have all the video equipment to make a movie or whatever you want to do. You know what I mean? I have another a guy. And so, like, a lot of these resources are being underutilized, right? Because I wasn't developing this platform. And so I'm bringing them in, et cetera. And you know, what I explained to Jamie and Jeff is, listen, the people who apply, there has to be some value to them. Mm-hmm. Right? They have to get some value out. I'm not here to suck your soul out and get the value from them, et cetera, coming on the channel. So people had different values. For some kids, the 10K part will be significant, but equally significant is being part of the Thirst Lounge, where we're going to support them with the video and branding and come down and whatever it is to like grow their brand and bring their touch to the market. Some people were just like, I want to be part of the one was like, I think it was like, I want to be part of the poker community. Yeah. And how people, that was like a very interesting answer. So, you know, part of the Jeff and Jamie's interview questions were like, what value are you getting out of this? Right? Because it's a weird, you know, it's a very narrow thing. You get value to get the proper value exchange, right? Like I want to make sure there's a proper value exchange, right? Like I don't want someone to come in and be like, oh, this sucks. I don't get paid. I got to stream and I don't really like.
You want them to want to do it, because I know some people that do these like compilation teams. I don't want to mention who they are on Twitch, but they do that's how their attitude is. They're like, oh fuck, you know, I don't want to go, but they do it because they're getting paid a few $100s or something like that, but they don't really care to do it. They don't want to do it, and if they had an opportunity, they'd instantly leave for it, sort of like that. So you want to give them actual.
I want it to be a balanced value exchange as much as possible, right? And to get value out of it, because otherwise they're going to quit, and it'll show up on stream, et cetera, whatever.
Yeah,
but we got,
for sure.
You know, the poker community's got some really interesting people, fun, outgoing, crazy, comical, you know, intelligent. We got all that. We got all that and more, right? All that in a bag of chips, as we used to say. So, Jeff Gross, you want to come over here?
JG.
J dialed in G.
Are we showing a video?
We got a video made, but you just want to list. You want to give the list, and like you want to because.
Pull up a chair. We're just doing this quick. You want to read it off? What are we
Can you
doing?
sit down?
Thirst
I mean,
Lounge 10. Get
Get a chair. Get the kid a chair. Get the kid a chair.
Chair 10. Like,
Get the kid a chair over here.
Mix here.
Ooh, we're creating
No,
these chairs. I need one of these chairs at my studio, guys. Come on.
Nice.
All right, Jeff. Give him.
I just want to say a few words before announcing it. This thing really did turn in. We were at Run Up Reno, and it started like, it went from one, and then we started talking to the contestant, like the finalists, and then it like kind of morphed into like instantly, oh, why don't we do a team, or why do they have to be in St. Thomas? You know, it's like I like No Limit GG, that kind of model where it's like a team. It's also not necessarily like Bill was saying. It's not like he wants someone to go down there, give up everything, and just be there full time and feel like because it's a lot of pressure. I don't think a lot of people understand Twitch, how it works, and a lot of streamers.
YouTube and streaming.
Yeah, all that. You can get burnt out. So like I think having a team is nice because it takes a little bit of the pressure off. And then from the people I've talked to, they actually some of them are interested in building Twitch or building a YouTube channel. So like Bill said, he has the editors, he's got the infrastructure. So it's like all of a sudden it's like kind of a team working together. Well, you know, so-and-so is going to be streaming, but they also have below the stream like their links to their personal, their Twitter, their you know, people are going to get to know them, and they're going to get to kind of grow as it goes. It's not just let's build up the Thirst Lounge, see you in a year or two, or like, you know, however long, 6 months, and it's just done. You know, they're actually building something themselves, or they may have their own side Twitch channel. You know, like that I know a few of the people I spoke to want to do that. They're like, I want to learn Twitch. I want to have my own thing. So it's like when they're not on Thirst Lounge or they host, they can do some of that too. So I think it's really cool, and it just kind of popped up to say Thirst Lounge 10. You know, I think also it's important to know that. Well, I'm speaking kind of because we are really going as we go.
It's you, man. You guys did this.
This is like the Thirst Lounge 10. This doesn't mean necessarily like, you know, maybe a couple of them don't love it or it's not for them. Maybe a couple of them it's not working out. You know, this isn't necessarily like the Thirst Lounge 10 that starts like the Big 10 was the Big 10. Now there's 11 schools. They still call it the Big 10. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if anyone knew that, but that's like, this isn't like Thirst Lounge 10 and done. This is the original like pilot, and it could be more, it could be less. You know, even some of the final five, like who knows? Maybe they could be involved at some point. It's not just like, all right, this is the Thirst Lounge 10 and that's it for life. So,
Okay.
like, it's going to be exciting. We'll do this.
I
with
think
the
Jeff's
10
a little. Just
I don't
a
like
little
to-
worried about like they had.
We had a
Literally,
tough
they
time.
wanted.
Oh, so you don't want to make anybody feel bad.
They were gonna literally. I think
drawing
Jamie-
this one out right here. Okay.
I think Jamie was like gonna cry like when they had to like cut people.
I
And
didn't
it was
even- I
really
didn't wanna-
hard
'cause I was like,
and
yo.
I am so glad it wasn't me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So
Like-
it was them that made the decision. Okay, so it was
It's,
Jamie and it was Jeff that made the
Yeah,
decision.
like
Jamie
I just,
Staples, Jeff Gross.
my
Not
guidance.
Bill Perkins,
my,
got it.
My guidance was like when they were like, "Oh, we have a decision versus any person, or whatever." I was like, there's a technical aspect of it, right? Like, can they do it, right? Like, certain people want to do things, and like, are they going to be able to put in the time? And is it going to put more of a burden on them, et cetera? How do you figure out who represents the Thirst Lounge more and what the brand is? Do they understand the brand and what they can bring to the table? Like so I would just give them those guidelines, and then they would have to make decisions.
I saw some
based on that.
thirsty. I know a few of the women chosen, very thirsty women themselves. So I think that they're going to be great additions to the team. I don't know some of the guys on there as well. Not sure if that's a coincidence or not. But,
Yeah,
it is what it is.
it's interesting. I think again that's the
A few
thing. It's like-
podcast guests are on this list too of mine. A few previous podcast
I'm
guests.
getting the tweet out right now.
Get
Let
the
me
tweet
type
out
the
there,
tweet
yeah.
right now.
Fire
Like,
it
since you're
up.
gonna announce the list.
So are we gonna
Give him the
announce
list,
it, or
Jeff.
are we gonna,
Jeff, can I get the list?
Are we
Who are
gonna
the
play
people,
the video?
Jeff?
I thought
Can
we
I
were
play
gonna-
the video on
I
here?
want to play
Can you
the
play this video?
right
Can
when
you-
you
can
tweet
you-
it?
Can I
we
play?
just-
Can
Can
I
you
play
play
the
this
way
video?
we
Yeah,
announce
play this
it?
video.
Can
I get
I
share it.
can't.
Joey, show us some.
How do we
high-tech
share
shit.
it?
Technical support. Can we run a video on this YouTube channel
No,
right
it's
now?
on my computer.
So I can give you the video.
You could tweet it and then you could.
Yeah, if
play
you
the
tweet it, if you
I'm gonna
if
tweet. I'm
you-
gonna tweet it right now.
I think
That's
that
how
would
I
be
do
the
it.
best way to announce it.
Okay,
Yeah,
fine,
that's
fine,
exciting.
fine.
Yeah,
Let's do that. Okay.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
So
Live,
this is-
live
Jeff,
on
like,
command.
do you
We're
have any
rolling
questions
it.
for me? Like, why don't you while you're doing that, while I'm typing out this tweet,
A question on the Thirst Lounge? Or
Yeah,
just
like anything, any questions that you would put me on the hot seat.
Okay.
Bill Perkins on the hot seat, and you
well-
know me very, very well.
Well, listen, I'm just curious. How many days? So now you're building this Thirst Lounge. How many days are you plan to actually? Will Bill Perkins be streaming on the Thirst Lounge in 2019? Considering like last year you didn't, you kind of went hiatus, but like,
Yeah, when I like
yeah,
I had a really tough professional year last year.
Right.
Yeah, and so I had to really get dialed in. It demanded my attention, et cetera. And like when that happens, it sucks sucks a bunch of time away, also from your personal and your family or whatever. So all the time gets crunched, and it was just like I cannot.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like priority wise, do this, and it was a shame. And I was like, okay, that's where the host idea came in. So
do you see- do
I
you-
think 2019 is a better year professionally, and so I think I will come down. But I think people like I'm going to be like one of the guests that comes down.
Yeah.
They come in and have me stream and run the channel, et cetera. Because I mean, I look at what you guys compiled, and we got it. It's a great fucking
It
team.
is a great team.
I mean, I'm
Jesus
super
Christ,
excited.
who's the team, guys?
Yeah,
What's
we're-
going
I-
on
Wait, I'm
here?
getting the
Launch
tweet
it.
out. Hold on.
My
I'm typing.
God,
So
man!
you
I
guys
got-
talk amongst
my
talk
expectations.
amongst yourselves.
My expectations are so high of this team right now. I don't know what's
It
going to
is.
happen on the
It
team.
is.
I really can't. Like, I'm really excited to like set them loose and like help them.
When are they going to go down there? Like, how do they? Are they paying? Who pays for the flights?
Listen, Joey,
Do they-
there's a
does
lot of
Perkins
stuff-
send the
Tell me,
private?
there's
Does
a lot-
Perkins send the private jet?
you're
Like,
asking-
what's going on here?
You're asking.
Did I tell you it was a very bad year professionally?
Are they isolated down there? Like, do they have a friend to go talk to when they're there?
You're asking that, like literally, it turned into like after talking to a few people, like the chat turned in like I think we should have 3 to 5, and then it was 10. So you're asking questions like the actual.
It's an
starting
evolving
time-
thing. Like
yeah.
we're running this experiment together,
Okay.
right? But
Wow.
the idea is that people will come down 1 or 2 at a time, stream from the boat, stream remote, run it like a channel,
Okay.
right? Like running have like so we can have almost 5 days a week, 3 to 6 hours of content, right? Like so and so hands it off to so and so.
Yeah,
You
the
know what I
cool-
mean?
the cool
Like,
part of teams
or,
is
you
you
know,
can
I'm
really
here,
host
I'm
up
here,
pass.
I'm here at the
Host up
St.
pass,
I'm
okay.
here at the Thirst Lounge saying Kit's location. I'm gonna turn it off to so and so who's in wherever they are or whatever and stuff like that. Or I'm gonna bring down this gamer. We're gonna do an interview. We're
Who's
gonna
the
do
list,
whatever.
guys? I mean, who?
He's about to fire the
is
tweet.
on the list?
Bill's
Oh, you have
asking
to-
me to ask. Him
Oh, do you have to
questions.
tag them all right now? Oh, you have to go
No,
tag them
No,
all.
I would.
I think if you're going to tag them all, you're not going
I
to
don't
figure
think
that
you
tweet
should.
out.
No,
today.
no,
Yeah,
no.
yeah.
I would just. We're gonna unveil it live, and you're gonna play the
I'm
video.
super-
too.
I
This
am.
is exciting.
I
It's
know.
it's a hype video, man. I like as this has evolved, the logo for it, the whole thing. Like it's fun. I think this is gonna.
Is
be
anybody
good.
in the room chosen on the team?
looking around here. I don't know if there are any finalists here. No, or like any. They're not. They're not present. There's a few people at the PCA, I believe, that are on the team. But
That's true.
yeah, it's exciting. It'll be cool.
Together.
And I think it's like, there's Run It Up. There's No Limit GG. I think it's like good. You see kind of this type of things for poker. I just think it's good.
No Limit GG. What do you think about that team from Germany, based out of Germany?
I mean, like, that in a way, it's sort of a different end of the spectrum. This is going to be a little more fun, upbeat. Those guys are obviously, there's a lot of
Right, like our channel's
and, like,
not, it's not like a super wizard channel, right? Like some of these channels will run like an educational channel, and I'm not saying like that's not a part of the Thirst Lounge, right? But it's education across a lot of other things. It's more of like a lifestyle channel.
You focus on the tweet, Bill.
I'm gonna tweet. You guys,
let's get this announcement out there. Let's get this team out there, man. So I want to find out. So I feel like maybe I feel like in the past some of the things Bill's done in terms of his giveaways haven't necessarily been covered on a very high level by the poker community or in poker media. So maybe something like this might be a little bit more covered, a little bit more focused on. You know what I mean? I feel like, you know what I'm saying? Like I think some of the things Bill's done in terms of the past, in terms of bringing people down to the PCA that one year, and bringing people from Brazil and bringing people from all over the world out there,
that was
Australia,
awesome. Yeah, that was awesome.
everywhere here.
That was awesome. And I think like PokerStars this year is 10x that, or 100x.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, 100x
Yeah,
that. Like,
inspired.
I would
Certainly.
like to think that I was an inspiration for that. By
absolutely.
the way, I would like to think that.
And this is one of your points in poker and in the industry. It's a little bit of an issue. Like there's not a great job oftentimes of promoting or doing cool, getting the content out there.
They love people love talking about the dramatic things that happen or anything like
All
that
right,
too.
I'm just gonna tweet it.
Okay,
As
tweet it up. Tweet it up.
Boom.
Bam!
Shit,
it's
here
up.
it is.
Wow.
It's in the mix.
Bam,
Wow,
so you can play
we
this
watch
video
the
now.
I
Wow.
I wanna
Okay,
watch
I'm
it
gonna
again.
play the video, and the people behind me are not actually gonna be able to see the video, unfortunately.
They are on their phones. Look at them. They're already.
They got the tweet. They got phones.
They're retweeting. Liking.
We have a retweet contest on this.
Make sure it went through, BP.
It should be up there.
No, it's not.
Hit
Hold
refresh.
on.
Oh my god.
Bump. I'll pin it. Hold on. Let me see. It's a big video, so maybe it's.
It might take a second.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Let me see.
Yeah, it's still uploading.
Boom.
Is
It should be
live?
up.
Wow.
Boom, a refresh should
Is
be
this
there.
happening?
Is it up there?
Nope.
Hold on.
If you guys are watching this past the date at the time right now, this will probably be the last subject we cover.
Hello.
So you're more than welcome to.
It's render. It takes a bit. It's a minute video, I think.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's a
The
full day.
Wi-Fi here is
You're on
not
the
like.
you're on the booty. You're on the booty Wi-Fi,
Are
aren't
you
you?
even on the Wi-Fi?
Are you even on the Wi-Fi?
What? No,
Yeah, I mean it says players, right?
4 players by players. That looks right, man.
I'm gonna
Well,
go au natural on
Natty Ice,
AT&T.
just put it through.
LTE.
We did not
LTE got
take a
no,
little
LTE
data.
didn't get it
We
up?
did not anticipate this this activity of
This is
having
extra
to wait a couple
cliffhanger
seconds. So
here.
yeah, we did not anticipate this taking place right here. So
Where is this? Did it just disappear? I don't even
Uh-oh.
see it anymore.
People are rioting out there.
Jayo says, "I am suggesting Joey be the host of the team of Thirst Lounge."
Ooh.
Uh-oh.
There could be.
And
I
put
think
it up.
Joey should
Uh-oh.
be involved in some
Come
way
down.
for
He
sure.
should
Listen,
be a
I
guest
need-
for sure.
I
mean,
definitely got to come down.
You gotta
to
have him
Thirst
as a
Lounge.
guest,
I've
right?
never been down there, but my goal and now in 2019 is to travel more.
Where the
a la
hell
BT
is
This
style.
fits in. This
So
is not even far from here.
you got to go back to the your homepage, BP.
BP?
No, the main timeline is going to be at the top. It'll say it's progress usually, unless it didn't
Unless
work.
No.
I hope
where
you
is
say.
it?
I hope.
Oh, you might have just deleted it.
I hope you copy
No.
pasted the.
we might need to just tell them the team, and then you
think
guys
we
can
should?
find the video up there at a later date.
Wait, hold on. We gotta get this up. Like let's.
We got, the video's a way to unveil it. We could talk for a minute.
All right,
Let Bill
I
do
think
his thing.
I think switching. I'm gonna do it one more time because I switched and I think it deleted it. Let me look at drafts. Maybe it's in drafts. Yeah, here it is. Here it is. Failed to send. Let's go.
Okay.
There we go. So
Tweet.
that's something.
One time.
Just touch it and let it run.
Get
yeah.
the one time going.
Bill's got it all, but he doesn't have a good internet connection. Upload his big announcement that he's been
Working
he's
on.
been
I
promoting
think you
for
wanna
over a
stay
month
on
right now,
Wi-Fi.
guys.
That would be my guess.
You think I want to stay on
I
Wi-Fi?
believe so. I mean, I think it'll get you through. I don't know.
All right, hold on. We're gonna go back on the
gotta-
Wi-Fi. So, tweet.
People are.
Draft.
Let me get some more shout outs out
Yeah,
there. Who we
let's
got in
hear
the
it,
chat right
All right,
here?
So let's get a question in. While we're doing this.
How do you like the Atlantis, Joey? What do you think? First time?
How do I like the Atlantis? This is my second time at the Atlantis.
Second.
I enjoy it. I enjoyed it a little bit. It's the warm weather. It's nice. Little too many paid workers at the bar for me and my friends' taste, I believe. You know, kind of like that. But too much drinking goes on down here because everybody is down here to have a good time. Everybody wants to drink, and it can get out of line pretty quickly for sure. So I think being able to manage your habits out here, manage your time, manage the distractions, manage what exactly you want to do while you're here seems very, very important.
Yeah. How was the 25K? I saw you had chips. Was that
The
an
25K
experience,
when
or-
I mean, not, let's not carry it away.
Were you like? Was it like? Did you get the tournament bug for a second? Were you getting
Yes,
fired up?
I do want to play more tournaments
Okay.
because I did enjoy it. I enjoyed being deep stacked much more than I enjoyed being sub 50 big blind stack because I'm very comfortable playing 80 plus big blinds, but playing that sub 80 big blind, that was something I was uncomfortable with. So learning more about that and getting better at that is something that I look forward to doing. And yeah, I do look forward to doing more playing tournaments for sure. I think it's kind of fun.
What if in terms of PLO tournaments or regular tournaments?
No, home. There's just not enough PLO. I mean, listen, there's a Patlum Omaha tournament today. Sasha registered. She's the only person registered, so it's
The
like
only one. That's
right.
crazy.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
think that would be-
it's disrespectful not only to the great game, but I feel like I may have done a
Disrespectful
I may have
to the
done a
great
poor
game.
job of that. I didn't really necessarily talk about the 10K Patlum Omaha
You
down
could
here
put
too.
that on your back a little more.
Right.
Yeah.
The promotion for the 25K PSPC was infinite. The promotion for the 10K Patlum Omaha event was non-existent. So, I don't even know if people knew.
Maybe it's PS. Maybe that's the play.
Right. They just added the event a few days ago. So I mean, listen, not only are they disrespecting the great game, but everyone else is disrespecting the great game by not showing up
Maybe
to
it's
support.
PSPC 2020 Patlum Omaha 10K.
No, I think that I mean that'd be great, but that's not going to happen. So
You
I'm
don't
not even
think
going
it
to dream
happens?
about an idea like that taking place. So
I just
Wow.
we talked
Not
about
even
yeah.
doing-
Putting it
All right,
out
so
there.
Jeff, we have like the Wi-Fi speed is just not gonna let me play this.
Wow, we're
video
just
right
gonna it's gonna come
If
down.
we,
there.
it's gonna like if we
Reading
just gonna
out
roll it
loud.
out. I really feel like
The video's
disgusted
the
about
move.
that. Like
This
the video is
yo,
strong.
I'll tell you the
dude.
play.
But you got to understand, not
What's the
many
play?
people.
Do we
The
have a
people
number?
that the views you're going to get in terms of this on Twitter is going to be much more than who's going to watch this at the 2-hour tail end of
That's
this
good.
right
That's
now.
good
That's
point. So we'll
tuned
get
in.
it up.
Yeah,
But
we'll get it
my
up there.
point would be this: you could send your tweet wording to Vadran, and he would tweet it for you.
Oh,
That's the way to do it.
yeah. Vadrian, let me see.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
got the goat.
Har-
Vadrian
Harbs-
Arsenal.
Harbs asked me, Joey,
Oh,
are
is
you
it
going to
up?
swim the mile down there?
No,
I am
that's-
not going to be swimming a mile in the ocean down here. I think I'll have sharks around here. And me and that prop bet Bill made on the last time we did a podcast is not currently going on. So people asked me that question about the swimming prop bet me and Bill made, and that swimming prop bet will not be taking place. Correct? Yes. Everyone's waiting for the tweet, man. My God.
Yeah, we're gonna get this. I get this.
They're
out.
gonna be. I
Hold
don't
on.
think
So
they're
you
gonna
got
be happy or
Vadrian?
I don't think they're gonna
Yeah.
be happy or disappointed because they're not gonna know.
Hey,
some of the
Vadrian,
names
can
on
you
there.
get this out with a tweet thanking Jamie and Jeff Staples for putting this together? Do an at Poker News and TL host and say I'm so fucking excited for 2019 and our Team Thirst Lounge. Could you please get that out like ASAP?
I would pause this if this was after the fact. I'd be editing this all out.
Yeah,
out
yeah.
after
All
the
this would
fact.
be edited. All this
I'd
would
be
be edited. But
editing
this is
this all
live.
out.
This is live. This is where they see the sausage get made. You know, this isn't a grinder. You know.
It's just not that easy. This is how it works behind the scenes.
Yeah, behind the scenes. You,
You
know,
don't
cut.
just flip.
It'd be all
flip.
smooth. It would just pop up and
Right.
the
You don't just
edit.
flip. You don't just flip a switch.
I will
and then that's
say,
it.
Bill, I thought you had this. I thought it was like queued up, ready to hit. You know, that's where.
Yeah,
that's
Bill. What's going on, man?
It's all right. Bill
I
did
got
rush
it
me
to
over
the-
here. He said, make sure you're here by 11.
Yeah.
And it's 1:30. That's
Yeah,
we're playing cards till what 5 a.m. and
Yeah,
I got
yeah.
5 hours.
I
sleep.
calculated the risk and I said, "Fuck swimming the mile with the sharks." That's.
We just say, just like no.
That's a 10,001 bicycle motorcycling.
Yeah,
Yeah,
not
exactly.
worth it. Like,
So
it's-
the motorcycle is there, and then the swimming with the sharks down in the Bahamas for the prop bet that me and BB made before. I don't think I'm ready to make
Not
that
ready
prop bet again.
to
Bill, you
lose
think
it,
about another prop bet? What do you think of me and you? We
I don't
could do
know.
something. I don't know.
Prop
I don't know.
bets
We gotta
are-
think of it.
it's
It's
fun.
hard.
You
You
need
got to
some good-
design them. You know, there's an art.
There's an art
design
to
'em,
it.
right?
You want a really good.
I had a prop bet this trip. You know, Charlie Hook bet me that I could not get from here to
You
the
told me
cove.
about that, yeah.
It was like
So wait, let's explain this. So the walk from the cove until the main poker room is literally one of the farthest walks that you're ever going to walk, and I think it's about 20-minute walk. And you guys made a bet where you would have to run
run or
No,
make
just
it.
get there,
It's-
however
if-
you want.
I think
run
it's like
or
a-
make it, whether it's by cart
Well,
or by something, right?
I think his estimate of how long it takes, because it is far and it's long and it's a pain in the ass, but I think the pain of making that long walk, he didn't guess right. I don't even know who's a bigger fish. Why I didn't take him for more money, or the fact that he said I couldn't do it in 11 minutes.
So you did it.
Easily, I sped walk it. And actually, I sped walk it. I said, first I want to walk the route to make sure I can do the route. He says, okay. I was like, speed walking? I did it in 10 minutes and 30 seconds. I was like, he asked me, I said, I did it in 10 minutes, 30 seconds. I'll give you $500 just in case like security stops me while I'm running fast.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's like, fine. He bought out. But it was like,
Yeah.
it was silly.
Yeah, it seems far, but it's
So
not that
you
bad.
you hustled him.
I didn't hustle. He said
Well, I
it
mean,
couldn't be-
technically, I mean, he's you know.
It was like,
I
you know,
guess-
you can't eat a pancake.
kinda
I can eat a
hustle.
pancake. You know what I mean? It was like, what are you talking about? You know, like,
Someone said, can we get Poker Sasha and Joey playing heads up on the stream, playing the great game, please? I think that might be possible. I think Sasha is dying to play me heads up, and she believes that she can crush my soul at pretty much anything, I believe. So she is a very, very competitive woman. We have spent many hours battling at all different games in my couch, and there certainly could be an opportunity for us to play some heads up, and I'll fucking destroy her for sure. I'm not going to go easier on her.
It's a battle.
So.
You know what we should do?
What?
Let's just do heads up pot limit Omaha.
Who?
You and I. That's the prop bet. You gotta give me a little bit of odds though.
I'm willing to talk. Okay, wait a second.
I want 1.5 to 1.
Okay, what's the bet? What are we playing?
We'll just regular stakes. We'll play like a little freeze out heads up Omaha.
A freeze out 1.5 to 1. I feel like the variance is pretty high, and I'm not sure about these odds, BP.
Okay. So we'll play 5 freeze outs.
5 freeze outs. Okay, what are the structure going to be?
We'll make it whatever.
Okay, so we can figure out the structure.
We'll
okay,
figure out
so
the structure.
5
We'll be
freeze
fair.
outs. 5 freeze outs.
I get 1.5 to 1.
What are we betting?
What do you want to bet?
Well, I don't know. What do you want to bet? I don't know. Yeah, I'm listening.
10K. 10K.
$10,000
Versus your 15.
Versus my 15. 5 freeze outs.
Best of 3, right?
But the structure, obviously, if it's deeper structure,
best
then
of 5,
this is
yeah,
gonna
0.3.
this will favor me. So it has to be a deeper structure then if you're getting the odds. I get to decide the structure then.
Yeah,
but it'll be
it-
a reasonable structure,
What's Omaha? Since I don't know.
right?
What's like 100 big blinds deep?
Something like that. Yeah. I'll
Start
go in the
100.
lab. I'll figure out the structure is. Yeah. I'll figure out the structure because then at that point in time, once it gets shorter stacked down to size.
Yeah.
But I mean, 1.5 to 1 high variance though. I'm not sure. I feel like 1.2 to 1 maybe more of an applicable kind of thing.
1.25 to 1. You give me 1.25 to 1, or always give me the button.
Stop it. Okay, so me and you play a best of 5 heads up. 1.25 to 1 odds I give you.
Yes. Dun dun dun.
All right, I'm in. Let's do. All right,
Dun,
I don't
dun,
know when- I'll
dun.
give you some time to prepare though. Okay, the bet.
Look at that face. This is like I built a bridge.
I'm gonna fuck him up. I'll put it like
The
that,
opening
guys.
of a building, right?
I'm gonna destroy this guy, but it's okay. All right.
All right.
I don't. How long do I need to give you to prepare?
I'm always ready.
You're always ready.
Strapped.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll.
I'm fully strapped.
he's
I'm fully
ready to go.
strapped.
All right, we'll figure it out, guys. We'll figure it out. We got it down to actually 1.2 did seem pretty fair. That's pretty true.
1.25 to
1.25 to 1. I give BP 1.25 to 1 because listen, you got to give action to get action sometimes. So
Yeah.
that is what it is. What's the Vedran status here, BP?
I think he's I think
doing
on
it now.
He's
It's
a-
coming up.
He
It's-
might, it might
he's
be
He's
now.
sick. I really like the promotional graphics he made for the podcast. So today, BP's like, we need a promotional graphic. So I said, Big J, can we make a promo graphic? And he's like, what should I make? And I go, just do it like this one. And I showed him the one Jeff made of
Yeah,
me.
Joey was on our podcast. Bill's coming on our. How many times?
Yeah.
It's third time on Joey's.
Yeah.
I told him. Okay, so yeah, we got to get this going.
We gotta get it.
Yeah, we're gonna get some podcasts.
What angle are
going.
you gonna come out? Like, how are you gonna get me?
We'll see.
Like, I'm like, you gotta put me on a hot
Well,
seat.
it's-
What's
you guys
another
talk
question?
about so much.
Let's
You
see.
guys-
Let's
you
see
have-
your
give him a
chops.
question,
Let's
yeah.
see your
Give him
interview
a-
chops.
give him another
Like,
question,
What's your
yeah.
question?
Bill, I got a whole thing prepared. I don't want to give. I don't want to.
You don't
We're
give
just
it
gonna do it
away?
right. Yeah.
You
We
can't
got-
give me an example here. Another one.
I mean, you and Joey covered a lot today.
Yeah, we did. We
You've
did.
covered
We've
three-
been
I
on
mean,
some
you've done
subjects.
probably 7 hours total of podcasting. But
That's true.
yeah,
Yeah.
3.
I'm
I
gonna
don't
be-
even
I'm
know.
gonna be
I
fouled
might
out.
cover. I don't want to cover the same stuff you guys cover.
Yeah.
That's true. We're still waiting for this upload.
Oh, no,
right
go
now.
to
might be
thirstlounge.com.
out.
Thirst Lounge. Go to the Thirst Lounge.
thirstlounge.com.
No, not
Yes.
Thirst Lounge. The Thirst Lounge. Go look at the Thirst Lounge. That Twitter.
It's final table, man. We're missing Kuntz. We got to go
Bum,
swamp,
bum,
bro.
bum, bum.
We got to get this out and go see. Oh,
No, wait. Scroll
is
up.
that it?
No, it's not it. Not up yet.
Not yet.
You guys are really on top of your Thirst Lounge Twitter page. Hasn't updated since October 24th, 2018. So you guys are really on top of
Yeah,
things there,
that's
boys.
that's exactly it. That's why we have this situation here, right? Like
This has
people,
got to get back in order. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's-
people.
it's-
This is like these assets need to,
It's 2019.
boats
Joey.
need to
Things
be,
are
you know,
changing.
So is
Things
this
are
the
This is
kind
happening.
saying, like,
of, is
boats,
this
you
the
have
kind
to
of
be on a
support the Thirst Lounge streamers can expect not to be updated on Twitter since October
Well, this-
2004?
it's
Wait,
not
wait. There's
ready.
no content. Like,
It's
what am I
not
gonna
ready.
do?
Well, I don't
Yeah,
know.
I
I'm
think
just
it's
asking.
changing
I'm
underwear?
asking for them. I'm asking some questions they might have.
This
Well,
is-
the
they
question-
can expect more content.
They can expect more
2019,
content. Like,
daily
people don't wanna see me
reviews.
is that-
changing my
well,
underwear.
okay. I mean, maybe they do. I don't know. Would you guys want to see Bill changing his underwear?
I mean, like, what-
listen.
Like, we gotta have.
Val's excited. Look at her. She seemed, yes,
All right, you know.
yeah. Jonah,
Customer
you want to
satisfaction.
see how he changed that underwear? Maybe learn something from him or what?
Yeah. Yes.
That's what I'm saying. Maybe he does something different. I don't know. He takes it off 2 days at a time. He hops out or
These
something like
content
that.
kings will put up
That's
anything.
what gets him excited. I'm not sure what's
You
going
know,
on
the funny
there.
thing is like, way back when I was in New York City, screen clerk, you know, they were like the networks, you know, the public access TV in New York City, like you can put on a public access show. I was like, I want a TV show, right? And
When you're driving the limo?
yeah,
Okay.
so me and my roommate Jason got this public access show
Okay.
And we learned, we thought, oh, this is great. We're going to have a public access show. We'll run around New York. We'll do these skits. We'll ask people like skits like where you're going. So we would go like in the subway and be like, where you going? And just
Okay.
like hope something would happen crazy. And we do all this stuff. And so what the point of the story is that we found out creating content was fucking hard and time consuming. And one of the rules of is you had to have something. You could put anything you want. There'd be like shows with nudity or whatever on public access in New York and all these other things and what's going on. But you had to put something up. And it was Jason's time to content. We didn't have any content. So one time we had to put up, we actually filmed a washing machine and played music. And that was our half an hour because we did not have the time to put up content or you get kicked off.
You almost created Twitch, is what you're saying.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, exactly. That was crazy. But like literally one of our shows, it was called 180 West End because we lived on 180 West End Avenue in New York City. And it is. It's up.
Shit.
It's up. Oh shit.
Is it,
Oh,
can we get the, are we
snizzle.
gonna be able to hear the music?
Yeah.
So I don't want to put washing machines up with music anymore. You know,
Right.
I'd rather put nothing than washing machines up. And that's a true story. New York City public access TV. That was my first foray into media.
There you go. And now here we are. Thirst Lounge 10, about to get unveiled.
180 West End. I should find
All
one
right,
of those.
so we're gonna play the video. Look at this music.
Ooh.
My God, wait a second.
No.
Let's make this. I know I'm gonna make it.
Yeah, play the music. It's going. Let's
I
go.
gotta
Big
put
screen.
the display capture on here.
Display
Take this
capture.
off.
Oh wow.
I gotta make this.
There's real-time
bigger.
technical stuff going on in the
Yeah, he
background,
knows
ladies and
this
gentlemen.
gives me anxiety and stuff. Oh, basically interior.
Who are they?
My name's
Adam Klein.
I'm ready for the next dream, and this is it.
My name is Kat.
Kat, my girl.
First lounge host.
Thirst Lounge, baby!
Oh my God.
Ebony Kenny here.
Oh,
I am your next
Girl,
First
Ebony.
Lounge host.
Boys love Ivanoski, and we need to porch out there. Let's make some shit. Thirst Lounge. What is going on?
My name is John Party, and what better place than Thirst Lounge? Hey everybody, what's going on?
This guy.
Justin Kelly's got pinball machines.
This guy's awesome.
It's your girl, Kelly Megan, aka
Kelly?
First Lounge host, baby.
What's up, guys? My name is Matthew Forsyth, and I'm a professional poker player here in Las Vegas. My name is Priestley, aka Poker Priest.
He was in.
There it is. The 10. Thirst Lounge 10 is officially. I guess it. Well, it's. We don't
It's
have.
official.
Do we have an
It's
official? It's official, but
Do we have our
the
mic
date?
open?
I think it's like mid-February. That's when it's gonna.
Here we go.
officially
Like,
launch.
thank you for playing that. That's thank you, Jeff, for putting it out. But that's the official team Thirst
That's
Lounge
the 10
app.
right there.
Yeah.
Adam's actually in the chat right now. He is one of the first people chosen.
He's
right
like,
there.
let's fucking go,
Congratulations.
Adam. I'm excited. I'm
Yeah, he was
excited.
fired. Adam's definitely. Fired.
Yeah, I had to keep it on the wraps. Adam's like, yo, can we talk? Do we
We had a few of the guys in here actually. Yeah, we got
Yeah,
babies
it's
in the
awesome.
chat
hyped
right
up.
now.
Yeah, they're in the.
We're
they're in
hyped
there
out. We got it
watching,
going. Like,
sweating.
I'm really excited. So, we're gonna get them together, get going on, like have kind of like a structure meeting and a team meeting, get going on and get some.
Poker Priest last with a slow
some
roll.
streams.
Yes, that's what's up.
It did take a while. Oh, yeah.
Congratulations, brother.
For
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
No, it's,
No,
it's good, man. We're gonna have. It'll be fun. Like you said, it's kind of a work in progress. So I think it'll be fun, and it's gonna be more geared like not towards wizard stuff. It's gonna be good. There's these guys. A lot of these players are competent. They know how to play, and
Yeah.
it's definitely a strong team, but very high end personalities, like high energy personalities.
I mean,
that are
there's
gonna
a
come
certain
up.
aspect of seeing somebody who's great at something do what they do, but there's also something a little bit more interesting following somebody's journey and watching them get better, right? And so that's kind of like one of the themes of the Thirst Lounge is like, I mean, we're always striving to get better, have fun, enjoy life, enjoy this ride. So that's kind of where we're at. You know what I mean? We're not,
Yeah.
Phoenix Online School of College, like teaching poker. Right?
Bang,
That's-
bang.
I would say
That's just
also-
not our channel. That's just not who we are.
It came down. Everyone was super excited. Like everyone really wanted to be a part of it. I think that's important to know someone has a desire to grow and do this. And I think these 10 that was something the uniform theme after Jamie and I talked to everyone. Not that the others didn't, but they were like ready to do whatever it took. They were like, I'll do anything. This is what I want. It was just super clear.
Does it have a casting
that
call or
they-
something like that, or
yeah,
what?
we did. Man, it was a call. We talked to everyone on the phone. And
Yeah,
it was a
they
full
put in a lot of work. They
process,
had to
man.
like get this, and then they had to call
Go
people and
back,
have
we had to
whatever and
redo
see if you can do it,
It went
redo
from
it.
one into like, oh, what about a team? Would you be interested to do it remotely? So there was a lot of kind of tweaking along the way for how this was all going to work and still being
Perfect.
sorted out. So there it is.
Well, when are we getting started? When's the first stream? When can we get down there?
This
When's
is
the
all-
kickoff?
this
When's
is
the
all-
opening? When am I?
Yeah,
I want to go to grand opening. What's going on?
Oh, yeah, that'd be interesting. Like a
could be
grand
fun.
opening.
What about a
like
grand opening party, St. Thomas, streaming, the boat, maybe some heads up, pop, Live in Omaha. Dude.
These are all great ideas.
In Omaha down
These are all
there.
great ideas.
Joey, get Bill on the spot. Shit,
Yeah, these
shit
are all
gets
great
crazy.
ideas.
We
I mean,
gotta-
Oh my God! We flustered
ready,
BP.
yeah. Bill's
The
ready to
first
do
time in
something.
7 hours of
Yeah.
podcasting.
Yeah.
We asked BP a question you didn't have the answer to here. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
well, I'm very much like, if I say it,
Yeah,
no,
no, he
yeah.
has
like,
that.
so I don't want the
Yeah,
words
take
to
a
come out of my
minute.
mouth, and now I've
Yeah,
like,
we're making
fuck,
excuses
I
around
said
here
I
right
gotta
now.
do this.
Holy moly!
Yeah.
Excuses
Listen,
and no answer. My
We're
gosh.
gonna find out what the best vehicle is to deliver the content, right? And what the way is to kick it off, right? But we as you can see, we got some interesting, charismatic people, very entertaining. We want to set this thing off.
I was
right.
almost gonna say if you can get this going on in an opening party within a month, I would take that swimming prop bet up on you. But listen, I'm not ready to quite go that far quite yet. So I was close to
What
saying
happened to this risk discussion we just
Yeah,
had?
we just
Like,
this
what
was
the
part of the
hell?
show. This was 20 minutes of the
motorcycle.
podcast.
Where I feel about swimming right now, okay? Bam. Listen, I learned that from you. I'm just picking that up.
You're picking
That's
up- you're
something
just
that
like,
you told me.
you sure
You told me
engaging
this.
this?
I said I'm here. That's where it is. So,
like it. I
is
like
that what we have, guys? Are we wrap the podcast up?
I
now?
think
Do
we should
have to
wrap
give
it up. I mean, like we're everybody is you can call me Guy. Somebody asked, can you call me Guy? Yes, that's what my family calls me, Guy, whatever.
Call him Guy.
When I was born, there were 3 Williams, and Guillaume, Guy, which is spelled G-Y, like
Guy La Liberté.
Guy La Liberté is what they call me as a kid. So they did the American pronunciation of William, which Guy is Bill.
Okay.
Right, it's the same thing. So there were 3 Bills. So they
weird.
weren't gonna be like Bill Junior,
go
Bill
with it.
Senior, and Bill whatever. So they just call me Guy.
There's some weird ones.
So
like that.
people who know me from like way
Guy.
back call me Guy.
Like Richard is
Okay.
Dick. I didn't know that. That's my dad's name, but like that's like a rant. Like it doesn't make sense. Like I get like abbreviated. Like there's some of those I don't
It's
really
been
get.
around for ages
Yeah,
and
it's just
years,
how it
whatever.
goes.
That's how the culture worked out.
Yeah, it's true. Joey means Poppy as well, too. You guys know that?
That's a weird one.
Poppy,
That's out there.
Jose,
I wouldn't have
Joey,
known that
listen,
either.
That's why they call me Poppy. Poppy GTO,
I get it.
Jose, GTO, Poppy. That's why.
Makes
Kinda
sense.
why, yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
I get
It all
it.
goes
I
together.
wouldn't know.
It all correlates together. Listen,
Yeah.
guys, it is what it is. So.
Well, thank you everybody for watching. Thank you
Yes.
for having me on here.
Yes.
Jeff,
Yeah.
thank you a lot for doing a lot of work for getting
So
this
my hair.
together.
Thank
we
you for
still
my
have
hair
a lot,
for being the,
lot
like,
more
the
work. I
ugliest hair
got
of
my
all
like
time.
mini
Yeah.
slave, my mini Twitch slave
hard,
over
man.
here.
We're
Still
trying.
gonna help me
The
like
slaves
get this
some
thing
stuff.
together.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a lot of work
We're-
putting these
it
things
is.
together.
It's
Don't
fun
tell
though.
Doug, don't
It's
tell
fun.
Dougie's the slave. Doug might turn that into a video. Jeff.
Dougie
Be
Fresh.
careful.
Man, I
huh?
got
Yeah,
respect
Doug,
for Dougie
yeah,
Fresh.
Doug,
Bring it
yeah.
out, Doug.
Doug's
Whatever you
like,
want. Doug
you
can
know,
do what he needs.
he'll be
man.
clickbaiting
Doug's back
us
on
to
the
death.
YouTube streets, right? See him back there.
He's
so.
out there.
Doug got fired up. Charlie Carroll came out of the video talking about Doug. Doug's like, oh wait, no, I'm gonna make poker content again. Okay, like,
Is that what
hey.
happened? He came at
Of
him?
course, of course,
didn't see- I
yeah.
didn't see that.
Doug got fired up, man. He took a shot at Doug. Doug, he's like, oh, suddenly I found some motivation to make some YouTube content again. So we'll see what happens with young Douglas here.
Content creators.
There you go.
man.
Well,
Content
listen, hey,
creators.
Special breed.
Yeah.
Are you sweating anyone? Are you gonna do anything? Come watch any of this 25K final tables going on. You any interest to?
Jeff, I cannot wait to go sit there and watch that. Are you
I want to play
no, I'm
1K.
kidding.
I want to
No,
play the
no,
1K.
I'm joking. No,
Is
I'm
it a
joking.
1 day?
play?
Is it a 1 day tournament?
2 day. Yeah.
Behind the scenes right here, guys.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, so
I
I
think
think
I sweat.
if you're on
Thank you.
Twitter, let us know what you thought on Twitter. Message Bill.
Yeah,
Tell me
retweet
what you
that.
thought. I'm gonna put some clips out there as well. Everybody out here in the studio, thank you very much. I mean, this is
Thank
studio,
you guys
just
for
a fucking
sitting.
room, but
Yeah.
thank you very much for coming here.
Studio audience.
Yeah.
We have a studio audience. Thank you very much.
I gotta also give Poker Stars a shout out, even though people are gonna like cry and fucking complain from their bedrooms in Kentucky or some shit like that. But thank you to Poker Stars
Kentucky.
for allowing
Lexington, Kentucky?
allowing us
Yeah.
to make this kind of happen in here too as well. Thank you to Jeff for coming out here.
Thank you,
I was just
man.
on Jeff's pod as well too, so Jeff's getting after it. Always working hard, always on the grind, getting after it. And shout out to my guy Big J, Hunger Man Joan over here. He's been taking photos and videos
23 years old,
for about
man.
3 hours now. He's a
Yeah.
complete
ultimate
psychotic
currency.
man.
Not a single bathroom
And
break.
we are
Yeah.
gonna find him some food to eat later on tonight. Big J Hunger Man player party tonight. You excited to go or a nightclub? Make it rain in there. Don't.
Yeah.
He's ready. All right, stay tuned, guys. Much love. Peace out. That's it.
Thank
That's
you.
all I